on the dot. We have 4 here that establishes a quorum. So first, I'll entertain a motion to approve or adjust the minutes from last meeting.
I so move.
We have a motion
I'll second that.
and a second. All those approve, say aye.
Aye.
All those not approving, say no. All approve. Good. All right, so I am so glad to see so many people here and so many people interested in the process. For those of you who haven't been here before, this is the Planning and Development Commission. Our job is to review special use permits or requests to rezone property within the city of Kansas based on all of the factors that you'll hear about in the staff report and research that the commission has done. Ultimately, we make a recommendation to either, for the city commission to either approve, deny, or table this. We only have one on the agenda, and it's a special use permit. So those are our 3 options. We are only talking about this proposal. If you have a new place in the city that you think a transfer center would be great, that's awesome. And I'm sure brothers and other people would love to hear that. We are here to talk about this special use permit and everything that goes with that. We will have a staff report. Then we will bring the applicant up, ask some questions, and then we will open it up to public comment. It'll be limited to 2 to 3 minutes. Try not to restate things that have already been stated. If it kind of goes down that way, we'll just politely interrupt you and have you move to the next topic. We have a lot of people here. We want to hear everybody's comments, but we also don't want to be here for 4 hours hearing the same things over and over again, so that we can make a decision. So, with that said, we'll get started. The only item on the agenda is 2024-14 SUP 1701 South 4th Street. This, so we'll conduct a public hearing for this special use permit to allow operation of a solid waste facility on property zoned I-2 Heavy Industrial District, and we'll have a staff report.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you said, this is an application for a special use permit to allow a solid waste facility in the I-2 zoning district at 1701 South 4th Street. Property is commonly known as Abel's Field. The applicant is requesting the special use permit to allow operation of a transfer station at the property, which would allow for the collection of trash and recyclable materials from both commercial users, including the city of Leavenworth, and residents bringing in their own debris. The proposed facility would be accessed by an entrance on 2nd Street. There would be no access provided from the existing driveway that's on Poplar. So vehicles would first come in off 2nd Street, arrive at a scale house, be weighed, and then proceed either to the residential trash disposal section, the recycling station, or the commercial collection building, which if you're looking at the picture up here, north is to your right, and this large building in the middle, that would be the transfer station warehouse where the commercial trucks would drop off their trash when they come in. So again, the trash from commercial trucks would go into that transfer station building and then would be pushed and loaded into a trailer as it's brought in. Each trailer holds about 20 tons of waste, and then once it's full, those trailers would be driven off site to a landfill site elsewhere. So there would be new fencing installed along the property lines bordering 4th and Poplar, as well as landscaping for screening purposes. Right now, the proposal is that the existing Abel's Field arch would remain and be maintained. And then again, the existing drive on Poplar Street, that's right across from the park and close to 4th Street, that would be gated and would not be accessible for folks bringing in trash, either residential or commercial trucks. Sometimes as you're probably aware, Second Street does flood in extreme conditions, and so that entrance up there of Poplar would remain for those extenuating circumstances if there was flooding on Second and it was inaccessible. Otherwise, all traffic would be coming off of Second Street. The commercial trucks would be directed to enter and leave to the south from Marion Street, so they would not be using Poplar Street and increasing any traffic adjacent to the park. The applicant has stated that the anticipated hours of operation would be 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. on weekdays, and then 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Saturdays. So the commission may recommend issuance of a special use permit when it finds that the 4 criteria included in your packet have been met. The first is that the proposed special use complies with all applicable provisions of the ordinance. Based upon the information provided to staff, staff does find that the application complies with all provisions of the City of Leavenworth development regulations. The second is that the proposed special use at the specified location will contribute to and promote the economic development, welfare, or convenience of the public. The proposed special use would benefit the public in a number of ways. Currently, City of Leavenworth trash trucks are required to drive fairly great distance to empty their loads and then come back. So that impacts the level of service that's provided to residential trash customers within the City of Leavenworth. The ability to deposit trash in town and then get right back onto their routes would improve that level of service that folks are currently experiencing right now. And then additionally, residents would have the ability to bring their own trash and recycling items to the facility instead of needing to use the county transfer station, which is out on the south end of Lansing currently. The third is that the special use will not cause substantial injury to the value of other property in the neighborhood in which it's located. I'm gonna get up the zoning map here. So right where it says I-2 in the middle is Abel's Field, which is where we're talking about, that kind of darker pink. All the dark pink is heavy industrial. The lighter pink is light industrial. So quite a bit of industrial zoning around there. So the property is again zoned I-2, which is heavy industrial, and is surrounded by other industrial properties to the east and south. Directly to the east is the City of Leavenworth wastewater treatment facility, and then to the east across 2nd Street is the Geiger Ready Mix facility. To the south along 4th Street is Tire Town, and then to the west across 4th Street are multiple commercial properties that are zoned GBD, which is General Business District. Directly adjacent to the north across Poplar Street is the existing Stubby Park, and then a couple of single-family residential homes there as well. Let me turn off zoning so we can see a little better. And then a storage facility directly adjacent to Abel's Field there on the north as well. So with a number of existing heavy industrial uses in close proximity and the measures put in place to limit the truck traffic and disruption for the uses to the north, there is no indication that the proposed special use would have a substantial negative impact on the surrounding properties. And then the fourth criteria is that the location and size of the special use, the nature and intensity of the operation involved in or conducted in connection with it, and the location of the site with respect to streets giving access to are such that the special use will not dominate the immediate neighborhood so as to prevent development and use of the neighboring property in accordance with the applicable zoning district regulations. So again, the proposed special use would be accessed via 2nd Street, which already supports a number of industrial uses. The applicant does indicate that they anticipate approximately 16 to 20 commercial trash trucks using the facility each weekday, with less than 5 commercial trucks on the weekends. And then anticipate 6 of the transfer trailers, which are kind of a standard semi-trailer size, 6 of those per day leaving the facility. So the anticipated volume of commercial traffic does not indicate a significant increase above what is already present in the area. And the proposed transfer station would be well contained within that 14-acre property that it is and not dominate the surrounding neighborhood. So notification was sent to property owners within 200 feet of the subject property as required by state statute. When we put the policy report together and sent it out last week, we had not yet received any comments at that time, no comments or calls. Since then, we have received a couple of emails from folks today that I printed off copies, and we placed those at your chairs up there. I believe the applicant also provided a letter that he brought in that you've been given a copy of as well. So if you have any questions for staff, I can answer those. We've also got staff from Public Works here available, as well as the city attorney. Yep, and I think Mr. Waters wants to say something, and then interim city manager is here as well.
Okay, great.
Mr. Chair, thank you. David Waters, city attorney. I just wanted to follow up on your initial comments, which were well stated about the property and such. Adding to that Kansas courts generally consider the issuance of CUPs and SUPs to be very similar to rezoning. So you all are familiar with the golden factors as well in a lot of your cases. Those can generally be applicable as well, in addition to the 4 factors that Ms. Hurley spoke about tonight. So as you do consider this, I would encourage you to frame your comments for the record and such in light of those factors, the 4 that she mentioned, and the golden factors as well.
Can you refresh our memory on those?
Well, you've got the character of the neighborhood, the zoning and uses of nearby property, the suitability of the subject property for the uses to which it has been restricted, the extent to which removal, I'll explain this a little, the extent to which removal of the restrictions will detrimentally affect nearby property. In this case, this should be read as the extent to which granting of an SUP, which is technically removing the restriction of there not being an SUP, would affect nearby property. The length of time the property has been vacant as it's currently zoned, that is a factor. The relative gain to the economic development, public health, safety, and welfare. The recommendations of staff, conformance with the comprehensive plan, and then and those are the golden factors. And then the other one is such other factors as might be appropriate, and those would be the 4 that Ms. Hurley listed in your staff report.
Perfect. Okay,
Thank you.
All right, let's start with questions for the staff. We'll open that up to the commissioners if you have questions for the city staff, the audience we have here.
I have one, it actually is for DPW, if someone is here, perhaps.
Yeah.
Public Works, yes, I'm sorry.
Yep.
That's
Sorry,
right.
this is Mike.
Mike
Steven,
Steven.
yeah.
Thank you. So one of the comments you had made in your email is that the stormwater needs addressing. I was wondering who and when does that happen? Is that KDHE that does that, or,
City Public Works Director,
Okay.
Brian Faust, would do that, and our office would review it upon presenting a building plan,
Okay.
if approved.
through the site plan review
So that would
process?
be when something comes in for building permit review. The city doesn't have site plans come to the planning commission, as you're aware. So the site plans are reviewed by staff at the staff level, and so when something comes in for a building permit is when public works staff would review that for any stormwater quality, quantity issues that need to be addressed.
Okay.
Thank you.
What about wastewater? Going over the scale, there's the opportunity of wastewater coming down and kind of pooling up around there. What did the city engineers consider with that when they reviewed?
Well, we didn't specifically discuss that, but they have discussed, the applicant has said that they will clean it on a daily basis.
Okay.
And there is sanitary sewer available, so if anything like under the scale needs to have a drain in it, if it's
we can
required.
have everybody mute their cell phones, it would be less distracting things.
But if there's need for waste underneath the scale or whatever, there should be a drain installed, and it'll either go to a grease trap or it'll go directly to sanitary sewer. It will not go into stormwater.
Okay, and I'm sure there's a bunch of state and federal regulations that have to be
Yes.
approved there. Okay.
Yeah, and the applicant talked to this a little bit, but these types of facilities do have to be inspected and licensed by the state as well. And so he could probably, again, expand on that, but I'm guessing that that type of thing would be included in the state's
Okay.
review.
All right, any other questions?
I
Go ahead.
have one. It says it's gonna be clean every day, is that, same time every day, and,
We'll let the applicant
Yeah,
get
we
into their process once he comes up.
okay.
Can you ballpark for me how much in overtime the city has paid with the current where we have to go to Shawnee to dump it, or Lawrence, or 2
Yeah,
hours, 2 hours away, or
I
you?
apologize, I don't have that information. I'm
Okay.
filling in for Mr. Faust
Sure.
because he's on vacation, but we can get you that information if it's necessary for your decisions.
Chief, do you have
So I
a,
can probably give you a general sense that it's significant. The principal issue here is the travel. It is about a 45-minute trip, sometimes between an hour and 2 hours waiting in line to deliver the material, and then the 45-minute trip back. And so oftentimes when we are behind or when the schedule is off, other pressures exerted on the system, including people that are sick or truck breakdowns. So all of those things contribute to those pressures. Without regard to specifics, I will tell you that the number is pretty significant. The cost of staffing and waiting and time, which disrupts the trash service daily.
I understand Thursday is the largest volume for our trash trucks.
I think so.
What happens when they're in the middle of that Thursday route and the truck is completely full and it's only 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning, they just got started, we had 3 officers move out and they're full, what happens?
They have to go on to this Shawnee and be dumped, and that takes the time he stated that you're losing that route. They can't be driving the route and picking up people's trash.
And then what happens? They go and unload that, do they come back and finish their route, or does it get pushed to another day, or?
Come back and attempt to finish the route if they can.
Okay,
Right.
all right. What about staffing? How has CDL staffing, been, let's say, in the last year for, our truck drivers, our sanitation drivers?
They've been short-staffed. It's hard to get people and get people to stay, and then it's hard to get CDL licensed drivers.
And what are you hearing about the difficulty in attracting those folks? What are some of the problems with people that are coming and we're training them and then they leave, or just not?
Competitive salary.
And what do we pay our truck
I
drivers?
don't know what we pay. I'm not,
Well, we'll have to get back to the specific hours. The principal change between now and, as you indicated, last year, was a change at the CDL requirement. The cost went up considerably. And so whereas normally we would have candidates that come to the city pre-qualified with their CDL, it's much more expensive now. It went way up, I think mostly associated with things like insurance cost and the requirements. And so that precipitates an additional problem of getting staffing, was getting a person that's CDL qualified because of the expense of getting their CDL.
And the city doesn't pay for any of that, that's a,
Been working on some incentive packages and some issues to try and resolve that, where after a person comes to work and gets their CDL, perhaps a salary increase associated with that. And we've been working on that as part of a way to sort of mitigate that problem.
okay. This transfer station, would it have any impact on city operations?
well, it would lessen the travel time, so therefore we could complete routes in a better timely manner. And it will be more convenient in the fact that recycling will be moved there, free up more space at our service center for other items and things that need to be stored on site, and not have to man that, so you don't have to pay that person to staff that.
Okay. And what were the hours? Is it?
For this, yeah, he said 7 to 4 on weekdays and then 7 to 1 on Saturdays.
And that's more than what the current city operation for recycling is, correct? Okay, all right. Let's see. Any questions? No? Let's bring the applicant up. I think we have most of the questions there. So who do we have from the applicant? Who's the lucky person?
Actually, I'm first.
All right. If you'll state your name, and we'll get going.
My name is Rhonda Levinson. I'm with Bateman Law Group. We represent brothers in trying to help the city and get this project going. I just wanted to clarify one thing and kind of follow up with what Mr. Waters was saying. In reference to the nature of the request that's listed on the front of the packet that Ms. Hurley went over, we would rely on the nature of the request as set out in the actual special use permit application that Brothers submitted. Particularly, it is on page 5 of your packet. It's the First City Transfer Station. Those are the actual items that hit the golden factors that this commission should consider. Many of the items that are listed on that first page are items that are under negotiation with the city as part of a separate process. And they don't really have relevance to the golden factors or to whether or not the special use permit should be issued. So some of those details are negotiated items right now that are still in the process. It's the First City Transfer Station page that lists the factors that we would like the commission to consider and how they apply. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Hi, Chairman. Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Bobby Hancock. First of all, I just want to kind of go over what I'm going to talk about. I'm glad to see everybody here. I'm going to introduce myself. I'm going to introduce our company. I'm going to go over kind of the more of the specific items here, and then hopefully enlighten everybody on how this could actually help the community and get us going in a really good direction. So again, my name is Bobby Hancock. My brother David Matthews and I own Brothers Disposal. We were both raised here in Leavenworth, Dave. We were both raised here in Leavenworth. Between the two of us, we have about 55 years of solid waste experience in the industry. David has managed numerous landfills, numerous transfer stations. I've managed and worked at many hauling companies, including here in Kansas City, BFI, Allied Waste, Deffenbaugh. So we have quite a bit of experience there. I graduated from IMAC, my wife from Leavenworth. Our kids went to Xavier and Warren a little bit. I feel like we're part of the community in many ways. Our business profile, we started Brothers Disposal in February of 2011. We started with one commercial dumpster and one truck, and that was Knights of Columbus. We've still got Knights of Columbus. We started that with an idea that the community needed a local and family-owned type of business for their waste disposal needs. Fast forward a few years, we were able to purchase another company, a company that had been here for about 35 years, and the owner had actually deceased, and the family was trying to keep it going, and we were fortunate enough that they allowed us to purchase them and keep their legacy going. That was called N&J Disposal. So we're really happy about them. That was a big deal for us at that point. Again, fast forward to 2019, and another local company that was much bigger than ours, we were able to acquire them. That's called Bumpy Roads Disposal. And at that point, we got bigger, but we still tried to stay, close to our roots, our hometown roots. We have 4 of those employees still employed with us from that group, which I'm really proud of. We've upgraded equipment. We've done a lot of things to keep their name going also. Right now, currently, we employ 12 employees. They're all from the city except one, and he's from Atchison, and he drives back and forth every single day, I guess, because he loves us. Right now, we service the city of Easton, the actual city of Basehor, and a couple of homes associations. We're stretched from Potter through Leavenworth County, and we end up down in Lenexa, and obviously Basehor and Tonganoxie in between. 3 years ago, we were contracted by the city to help clean up a big area underneath a bridge on 4th Street by the old Sonic. We did that within 2 days. We ended up getting 14 tons of garbage out of there. That was kind of a proud moment for us. We were able to really start helping and giving back to the city and that type of thing. 2 years ago, and this is before the cart issue that started last year. Hard to hire people, long long travel times to the transfer station and, or to the landfill. And, you know, the city started getting behind. Obviously, I'm a trash guy and I'm a local guy. And I reached out to the city at that point and, you know, just tried to make a deal of, hey, how can we help you? Can we jump on a route? I don't really have a lot of extra trucks. Can I use a truck? No, I couldn't use one of their trucks, but we were able to get that figured out. And during that time, I think we helped them 2 or 3 weeks, just to really get caught up, really keep things, to help keep the citizens happy and keep the trash up off the streets. 1 year ago is when the carts came out. That also happened to be probably one of the hottest months that I can remember. And, you know, it was tough getting people. It was tough for us to finish our routes. They were having to deliver cards, you know, and work through that whole process. We started helping them then, and we worked for them for a full month. We just basically just had a designated neighborhood, and we would get after it every day. And we put in a lot of hours helping out then. The last 5 weeks, we've been helping out a lot. You know, it's actually a really big deal. Sorry, guys, I should be talking to you also.
Yes, please, thank you.
It's actually a really big deal to us if the city's clean. You know, it's kind of strange walking around and, you know, driving around and you constantly look at dumpsters. That's just what trash guys do, you know, Kansas City, Weston, wherever we're at, you know. So no, we've been helping for about 5 weeks. We got about 90 truck hours in helping. Sometimes it's on the weekends, sometimes it's on Sundays. And the important part is our crew actually enjoys it. They want to give back to the community, help in any way that they can. The residents are extremely happy. They wave at us, they give us water. The crew is happy, they thank us, we thank them, and then there we go, and Monday comes around and we start the process over again. And that's just kind of what we do. So without going on too long about that, and again, that's not me bragging, that's just me letting people know that we do want to be part of the community. We've grown up here, and we actually have a vested interest in what happens. So now, I'm assuming everybody's here to talk about the transfer station. So I'd like to walk them through that a little bit. And Ms. Hurley did a really good job of that. And I'd like to just expand on a few of those ideas. I really appreciate the passion that our community has for subjects like this. That's why I'm glad that everybody's here. You really can't know a lot about anything until you ask questions, until you get answers. And most of the time, the best person to answer that question is the person that's trying to run things. So again, I appreciate the passion that our community has for this. And now I'd like to share our vision and hopefully ease the minds of people that are questioning the entire thought process. So 1701 South 4th Street, which I didn't even know it had an address. I always just called it Abel's Field. But we found that out. You know, that was home to Leavenworth Sports, IMAX Sports, later Football for Kids, where I actually coached my 2 sons there. You know, we've attended barbecue contests, we've attended a lot of different things there. And then Leavenworth built their current facility. IMAC was able to paint the buildings there in the concession stand and use that for a little while. Through the graciousness and consent of the owners of the property. In 2011, and this was brought up a little bit earlier, in 2011, the owners applied for rezoning at that point to I-2. And I thought it was important to bring up because a lot of the same, as Mr. Waters pointed out, a lot of the same questions, the golden factor questions, are looked at for that also. The rezoning was approved, and the answer to 2 of the questions for that zoning is, quote, fits the city's plan for this area. Other answers pointed out that the industrial business is in the direct area. The recent addition of the traffic light at Poplar and the widening for turning lanes at Poplar and Marion by Price Chopper further help the industries in that area. This property is in the direct neighborhood of a concrete plant, and we've talked about that, the asphalt plant. Miss Hurley did a really good job at that. The property's been vacant for about 14 years. So now, if we could, I wouldn't mind showing the pictures. And so keep in mind, these were done with a drone. So these were done literally going down 4th Street with a drone by a company. And so it's about 30 foot up. When you're in your car, you're actually, those are 6-foot fence. But now you're actually 30 feet up, kind of looking down. We plan on having the shrubbery. We plan on, aesthetics is gonna be a really big deal to us. We plan on having the trees, and then we can keep going. That's looking north there, traveling north on 4th Street. That is from the north, traveling south. That's the existing locker room / shop now. And as you can see, you can look through the trees and you can see there's a scale house and that type of thing. But we're really wanting to show off the shrubbery and the landscape there. This is the 2nd Street exit, or entrance and exit. So again, we would be entering from Marion, taking 2nd Street, and then entering and exiting there. The city's done a really good job of protecting Stubby Park in that way. This is a really good picture, and we can rest on that one. This is looking north, and obviously it's way up in the air. As Julie said, trucks would enter off of 2nd Street. They would come onto the scale. They would continue past the building and then dump in the building, offload their load in the building. As you can see, that building has garage doors, it has bay doors, which is a big deal to us. And we can kind of skip ahead right there to the reason for those doors. And obviously, a lot of the reason that people are here today is, there's a word called smell. And garbage is a lot of times associated with that. Believe me, we've been in the industry and we're alive. We're part of the community, so we understand what people expect. And so the doors are a big deal to us. On top of that, there would be a misting system that would just intermittently mist, helping mitigate any type of smells. And keeping in mind, this is about a 120-ton operation compared to, say, an Olathe is about 500 tons. This is a much smaller scale type thing, and we would treat it to the point that just like we live next to it or anything else. We do expect a park-like atmosphere. And we want to show it off. We want to be able to bring schools through there in buses, give them a tour, educate them on what happens with garbage, with recycling, and that type of thing. Or groups, if groups come to town and they want to see what's going on, then that's perfectly fine too. As stated before, the recycling area now is open sometimes, and let's face it, sometimes it's not open. Again, it's a labor issue. We would actually have the recycling facility here, a drop-off area, and it would be open 5.5 days a week. It's fully staffed. We would want people to be able to go in, get their stuff dropped off, and then go on about their day. And we want it to be a nice process for them. The other part, if you guys can see here, that's what we call a citizen drop-off area. So let's say you guys, anyone comes in with a mattress or a couch, something like that's easy, a 1 item, 2 item, 3 item to toss off. We would actually accept you on the scale, you'd come around and you would use that part of the facility. It's called a citizen drop-off area again. You would basically just throw it into that roll-off box and then you're out of there. You're not messing with the building, you're not messing with any type of trailer, you're not messing with a truck, your machinery, you're dropping it off and then you're gone, and again, drop off your recycling on the way out and then head on out. We're pretty proud of that. We were trying to touch on some labor issues. We would also do the free Saturday dump that the city offers now. So in that case, basically there's not a lot of commercial traffic on the Saturdays anyways, so then the building would be open to the public. Again, they would come across, we would check their license, to make sure that they're city residents, and then they're right across there dropping off their garbage, large items, whatever it is, and then they're out of there also. Something that's real nice, convenient. Saves the city because now all of a sudden they're not staffing that. They're not having to haul the roll-off boxes once they're full, and basically all they're doing is paying for the tonnage at that point, whatever comes across the scale, and then we take care of the rest. We haul it to the landfill and the whole deal. With that said, and again, Julie made a good point of that, those trailers are loaded. There is no garbage left on that floor at night whatsoever. The trailers are loaded. At night's end, the doors are shut. We anticipate about 6 trailers leaving there every day, which isn't even a drop in the bucket compared to a lot of the truck traffic around there. And then again, we start the next day. Doors closed, misters going, and keeping any type of smell down, that type of thing. So more benefits for the city, a long-term contract to dump there that they can rely on budget-wise and the whole deal. The recycling center we just talked about, citizen drop-off area we talked about, first Saturday dump days. We would still be accepting the car batteries, the household hazardous materials, and tires. Again, taking that off of the city. The city would save money on fuel, labor, wear and tear on the trucks. When it comes to miles on the trucks, how many times do they have to buy a truck within a 5-year period when they're driving back and forth to Kansas City as compared to when they're just driving 5 or 10 minutes? That's a big deal. That changes from maybe buying one every 2 years to buying one every 5 years. And the trucks are absolutely expensive. We expect fast dumping times. We're going to have actually a commercial lane designated just for commercial trucks. They pull up, it's a commercial truck, they're in the building doing their thing while we're still servicing the other cash customers.
How much money to dump for a regular
We'll
guy?
we'll take questions. That
Gotcha.
takes time.
Another really important thing to me is, again, we grew up here. There's a lot of green space left, if you guys can see that. Really the building's only taken up to about the 30-yard line. The concrete out in front of it, maybe a couple, 20 more yards. We would anticipate setting up community events to be run in that green space. And we're really excited about it to the point where it could be car shows, it could be swap-in shops, it could be, really a lot of things with food trucks. Obviously, there's permits involved. And I guess the thing is, that's how confident we are in this facility. That's how confident we are in it not being an eyesore. That's how confident we are in this being a state-of-the-art, aesthetically pleasing park-like atmosphere. We anticipate hiring 6 new employees added to the payroll on top of what we have already. And Towards the end here, I'd like to go ahead and read a couple excerpts from a letter that was sent last night. And this letter, I just talked to the gentleman, and he was up about 1:30 in the morning, and he just decided there was something on his mind, and he needed to write a letter about this. His name's Mike McDonald, and some of you may remember him. He's retired from here, and he's the retired Public Works Director. An excerpt from that is, it was at the time and appears still to be cost effective in the sense of dollars ton to haul the refuse to Johnson County rather than use the transfer station. Use of a local cost-effective transfer station will allow city collection vehicles to avoid 1.5 to 3 hour round trip for disposal, increase in efficiency of collection. Construction of a well-operated and well-maintained transfer station central to Leavenworth offers the opportunity to bring performance back in line with resident expectations for regular refuse collection. That the property is zoned I-2 is a critical part of this process. Many people are not aware of, the neighbors around there, the other industry. All of these have served the community well, and I agree. I am not closely familiar with the actual plans and layout of the site, but was pleased to see that the access would be from 2nd Street. This will allow refuse trucks and transfer trailers to use the signals at Marion and 4th Street to enter and exit off of 4th Street. This industrial use was part of the justification for the upgrading of these traffic signals over the years with substantial grants from KDOT. In conclusion, a well-operated transfer station with a commitment to hours of operation, noise, light control, and litter collection should be supported by the Planning Commission. It offers substantial opportunity for the city to stabilize refuse collection services as well. And I think that we're all in line with that. We believe this is a win-win for the city and a win for the residents.
If you'll keep your comments to yourself, please, present them. We can all be respectful here.
As you
It's
can
possible.
see, we have been working toward a better community for a number of years, and this project is an extension of that goal. We are excited to see what ideas the citizens can offer to use the green space left over after the base project. We believe this would be a partnership with fellow citizens and work together for a better Leavenworth. Lastly, how does Abel's Field Transfer Station sound? Thank you.
All right, thank you. First, we'll have questions from the commission. Go ahead and start with that.
Is that fence that is along 4th Street, is that a chain link fence again, but it's 6 feet tall?
It is, yes.
I was just asking because it seems like, I'm sure Pat Kitchens knows the exact number, but it seems like once a year somebody drives through that fence and
Yeah,
it down.
it seems as though it's happened maybe 3 times in the last, but yeah, for whatever reason, it just kind of came in spurts, but it didn't really before that, but hopefully it only happens in 3s.
Yeah, I just wondered what the fence was gonna be.
I see.
Well, I have a whole list of questions.
Okay.
Please, yeah.
Well, we'll start with the fence, because fencing is talked about in several places in our packet. Once in the staff report in the front, once in the application, and then further in the, I forgot what you called the letter, if you will. And in one place it says that there will be new fencing along 4th Street and Poplar. The application says it will be replaced as necessary. Oh, and the DRC review said there was gonna be plastic slats put in the fence along 4th Street. So I'm like, which is it?
Right, so all of those were options, and the slats and the replacement of all of the fence we're under negotiation. You know, at first glance, again, they just pointed out that part of it was hit within last year. So that's all brand new along there. So at first glance, we were gonna replace the part that was not brand new. We were for sure gonna put fencing and gates on the north side, and then the gate on the Second Street side, like the picture showed. The slats would be something, you know, nice as far as, you know, there's a lot of people worried about what they're gonna see and that type of thing. The trees and the shrubbery would absolutely do a great job as well.
But those are going to be behind the fence, aren't they?
That's correct.
So if you put the slats there, you wouldn't see your screening anyway. It seems.
Other than the trees, right?
Right. Okay. I'm not certain, I mean, you've kind of, it's been talked about, you know, the way the circulation, if you will, of the traffic.
I see.
Coming in off of Second Street, you're gonna go in and around the building. You have 2 lanes going around the building, one in, one out?
Correct, right, and I'll go ahead and point that out for you.
Okay.
So, you enter here, the recycling, no, you enter here.
Yes.
The recycling area is right here. We don't wanna get the recycling people, caught up in any type of traffic. So they're here, get it dropped off, and you're right back out.
Okay.
Any type of garbage or debris would come up here, they would cross the scale. Anybody with the large item drop-off would basically take the track and use that, and then they're right back out the exit. Commercial trucks would use here, as well as what we'd call cash customers. Somebody with a pull-behind trailer, a construction trailer, that type of thing, a 10, 12, 14-foot trailer. They would also use that, and then they're right back out. The ones that don't have accounts or tear weights would scale out, and then they would take here. Right here's wider for the commercial trucks to actually be able to get in and out and get back on the streets and pick up trash.
So you wouldn't, if you were a resident, you wouldn't be in the same queue as the commercial trucks?
That's correct.
All right. Okay, sounds good. Let's see.
And that's what we really do want to focus on: convenience, in and out, non-intimidating. You know, most of us aren't professional truck drivers. You're in and out. It's easy, and you don't have to worry about it.
After the trash is put into the building and you have the tilt floor and the trash goes down, and it's gonna be put into the transfer trailer at that point?
Those are called tipper trailers,
Tipper
right?
trailers.
So that's this is the area here. Oh yeah, so they're here, and then the trailer is actually backed in. You basically just, a machine, puts the trash in the trailer, and then once it's full, it's pulled out, and the company is constantly, you know, hauling them out once they're full, tarped and full and hauled away.
And is that tipper trailer inside that building, or is it just outside the building?
Yeah, so, maybe we could give so right here is where the tipper trailer is backed inside the building. That also has a garage door, a bay door that.
And I think, Bobby,
that would
you'd
close.
said, so that's at a lower elevation than the
That's
floor,
correct,
right? So
so-
it's kind of level with the floor, and it would just kind of scoot straight into it. It's not up where it's having to be pushed up
Right,
and
yeah, so that's basically like a basement floor.
alright.
So you're basically backing into a basement, and then we're up on a level, pushing the trash in. It's pulled out, and again, the tractor trailers are right out and going away.
And at the end of the day, if that tipper trailer is not full, it will stay on site?
So the bay, that's when the bay doors come into play. The bay doors are closed, the misters are working, and we're moving right along.
Okay.
We never anticipate anything being full out there at all. You know, the trucks are constantly, you know, bringing them in and out.
Okay. And the site plan, I mean, the landscape plan would go through that same process as the?
correct. When it comes in for a building permit, that would come in and be reviewed by staff.
Okay. How many tons is the Leavenworth County Transfer Station? What do they do?
They're somewhere around 150, 160, right in that area, 170.
And what would this be
Say that
comparative?
again.
What would this be
We would
comparatively?
anticipate between 110 and 120. And again, mostly, that'd be our trash, city trash, and, residents.
Okay. I think that's all I have for now.
Does it, like anyone here know, like I had to dump a couch and I drove out there and I dumped my couch and they charged me $5. Where does that $5 go currently? County, I went out there, where'd the $5 go?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know that he can speak for the county.
No, not him, any of us, we don't know.
Yeah, without,
Yeah,
you don't.
we're not
get into
involved
that.
in that.
Oh, it's okay if we don't know, and then,
You'll be charging a fee on the so what fees would you be charging and what would those fees go
So
to?
anybody for a couch or that type of thing, we would have set up a pricing system, and they wouldn't have to go back across the scale. They would actually, just set pay a set fee to do that. And anybody with a trailer or somebody that has to dump something, a construction company or that type of thing, they would actually scale back out. And at that point, it's a per ton type issue, whatever that gate rate is set at. But yeah, for a couch and stuff, there would be a schedule of that, and make it as easy as possible. Again, you're across the scale one time, you let us know what you have, you pay, you dump it, and then you're out of there.
I guess my question was more, and we don't know, to be clear, we do not know where that $5 went. Was like, are we taking money away from, say, the city? Because in my head, the city got the $5.
So the county is no longer a tax, what's the word I'm trying to say? Is no longer funded by tax dollars, and they haven't been for a while. That's when that gate rate went up significantly, is when that levy went away. And that's when the city started bringing their trash to a different landfill for a better gate rate. So yeah, you don't wanna call them a for-profit place because they're revenue neutral, but it is used for, running their facility.
Don, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions, and they might be really stupid, but.
Probably not.
Are you gonna tear down the wall along 4th Street?
No.
Why not?
Well,
Are you
the
gonna
wall,
were you just gonna get more graffiti?
well, so the wall is actually attached to the stands. And, there's some concern of being there for as long as it has been, what structurally that would do for 4th Street. So that's part of it.
Yeah.
Another part is, it's not really graffiti now, it's actually a mural now. But we would, it's actually a mural now.
Sure.
But obviously, we would want the aesthetics to stay, pristine, and we would take care of all that if anything came up like that.
Now, when you bring your landscaping in, are you gonna bring in large trees, or are they all gonna start out small?
Yeah, so those are 8 to 9 foot trees when they're planted. And then there's also some 10-gallon shrubbery in there. The reason I know that right off the top of my head, we just got the quote back a couple of days ago. And, it's gonna be mixed in with 2 or 3 different types of trees and shrubs, all along there.
And the other question is, of course, all the recycling is the people bringing us free for them.
That's correct.
Now, do you have free, like one Saturday a month for free?
Yes, sir.
For wood, whatever?
Yes, sir. So that would take the place of the free Saturday now. So instead of the free Saturday being at the service center where it is now, it would actually be here. And they would bring it in, they would actually use the facility, dump it on the floor, throw it on the floor. We would load the trailers, and then that would save the city from having to haul those roll-off boxes and the containers that are filled up through that day.
Are you going to incorporate the city trucks and their personnel into this new company? or not?
So, no, we're not in partnership, but we would, have a long-term contract with them to dump there, which would save them money in the, also.
And you talked about a long-term lease. How long is your long-term lease?
Nah, I didn't speak about a long-term lease, but we're actually going to purchase the property will be purchased, it'll be owned by us.
How long-term agreement are you gonna have with the city?
Oh, I see, so again, that would be a negotiation with the city, it would, make it as beneficial to the city and still be able to run things.
Okay.
Kinda like the contract
if I
that
can
we
have
have
you-
with Waste Management.
Go back to the mic, just to make sure that we get
Oh, I see.
everything on
Yeah,
the record, thank you.
Like, the city has a contract now with Waste Management, so basically the same thing, it's something that's worked out. Just like we would have a contract with the landfill that we're bringing the garbage to, you work out a contract and take care of things that way.
Okay.
So you mentioned having venues, and I don't think you use the word concert at all, but say you had a venue and you were having a concert, for instance. Could the people that were coming to the concerts, because it was always an issue with parking for football games, could they park in the grass?
Yeah, well, what we were thinking, even my son had brought up, thinking through ideas and fun type of community events, we had talked about a movie night, with a big screen, people bringing their, and again, with the proper permits, bringing their lawn chairs, using the stands that are gonna stay there. Obviously, they would be, nice and cleaned up and ready to rock and roll from the very get-go. So yeah, I mean, however that would work, again, I would think car shows in the grass, swap-in shops in the grass, food trucks along the outside.
There is additional land for parking and stuff.
Yeah, correct, yeah, there's 14 acres there, and again, we're not using that much of it. The roads are gonna be asphalt in and out. This is really gonna be a nice looking facility.
You've mentioned a couple of times that this is a pretty big investment, that all of this is going to be state-of-the-art and all of that, which we all like to hear, but that also comes with a large price tag.
Correct.
Have you secured all of the funding that you need to undertake this large plan, or is this something you're still working out?
We are right in the middle of it, yes, sir. So, we are working with the banker every day. We've actually ordered the correct land studies, so we're right in the middle of the process of
Okay.
getting that all taken care of.
And I'll ask you the same question that I asked him, but from your perspective, the wastewater and other contaminants that are germane to this type of facility, what is the plan for you to mitigate that risk?
Right, so I should have brought up the KDHE portion of it. Again, we are inspected, there can be surprise inspections, there can be monthly inspections, obviously yearly inspections. All of that, is covered through that permitting. The next step would be KDHE permitting. So all of that is covered through there. The drain for the biggest part of that would be in the area where the trailer is.
Right.
So there would be a separate drain there that would be handled by the wastewater treatment plant. The other drain would basically be rainwater, on the outside of the pit.
And there are public utility hookups already available, okay?
That's what's really nice about the area too. We've got water, we've got, electric and sewer there.
What is,
sorry.
what is your time frame to complete this project? Bring it operational?
Correct, right. So the KDHE permitting, would probably be the next longer portion of that, and that can be anywhere from 6 to 9 months. But we would anticipate that during that process, we're getting the permitting done, or the financing taken care of. It takes 90 days to get the building there, and all that stuff. So, a year to 15 months is where we would really want to strive for
That's,
on the outer
that's
line.
conditions of the weather too, right?
Exactly, yeah, you know, when it comes to the asphalt, that plant closes in October sometimes, so.
A quick question about your recycling. Will it also go to the same place in Lawrence as the solid waste?
No, so the city would still handle where that goes to, and they would still keep any type of revenue off of the recycling. We would basically just be moving it there, number one, so that the citizens could rely on open hours, and they know that it was gonna be there and ready for them. And again, the city wouldn't have to staff it, all they would have to do is still haul it where they're hauling it now.
Okay, thank you.
Can you give a ballpark on what type of, how large of an investment this might be? Are we talking a couple $1 million? Are we
Yeah,
talking?
with the equipment and all, somewhere in the 2.8 million range.
Okay, and from the city manager perspective, what does that do to the tax burden?
They've done some, the team's done some preliminary calculations. Certainly the property tax value would be significantly higher than it currently is now. Essentially.
Sure, and so I'm showing currently it's, the assessed value is 29,000, that generated about $4,000 worth of tax revenue for the city for 2023. If that type of money was invested into that kind of property, we would see that tax revenue increase just a little bit.
So I think that the calculations, it depends on where they end up landing on the number total, but I think probably in the $80,000 to $100,000 a year range, give or take where they end up landing on the number. That's what we think.
And I assume you'll be charging sales tax for the business you
So
conduct?
there, right, yeah, so there's no sales tax for, tipping,
Sure,
trash.
But
So that portion of it can't be done.
but the other business that you do on that location with your other business ventures, that will be subject to sales tax?
So that, picking up garbage also isn't in the sales tax,
Okay.
realm.
Okay,
But if we ended up renting dumpsters, which we do, you know, that there is sales tax in that.
the 6 new jobs for this facility, will they be stationed there at
That's
that
correct.
facility?
And those are brand new jobs.
And those are brand new jobs, and that income tax will also be taxed by the entities that are here, right?
That's correct.
It won't be in your main office.
So, we are actually here in Leavenworth
Okay.
now, so yeah.
All right. The trailering of the waste to leave here, are you in charge of that operation, or will you be training?
That would be contracted out.
That'll be contracted out.
Correct.
Do you have
And it's a company in Olathe, and they've done this type of work before, but they also do a lot of different, refrigerant hauling, that type of thing, box truck hauling for a lot of other people. If anything ever gets behind, we know early in the day, they've got 20 guys down there, he sends one over. You know, if we get 2 trailers that are filled up pretty quick, he sends another guy over, they just take care of us.
Okay, and how many tons of trash will be left outside to rot? Overnight, during the day?
Yeah, so there won't be any in the trailers outside whatsoever. And, you know, the only thing that would be left would be if there's something in the trailer at the end of the day that was, you know, you don't wanna haul them unless they're full. So at the end of the day, if it's half full, then it waits till the next morning. But again, that's inside, doors closed, mister's going.
There's no trash being stored outside?
Absolutely not, no.
So your sweet smelling sprinkler system will be working full
Correct.
time then.
Right.
And where is trash stored now? When, if they can't make it down there, if it's closed, if they finish the route, where is it stored now?
It stays in the truck.
Stays in the truck, where do the trucks stay?
In the city of Leavenworth. the
Service center.
At the service center? Okay.
And that's the other thing, you know, we're a private business. If said city truck is getting done Bobby, I'm not gonna be there till 4:05, I'm not gonna be there till 4:30, can you hold it open? Yeah, we can. Get your trash dumped, and then start your day off fresh. You know, again, I know it seems strange, but we are literally trying to do this to help the city out with their issue, and obviously us. We don't like sitting in line, we don't like, you know, having to travel a long ways, and the city doesn't either.
Sure, okay, all right.
So our city people will still be picking up our trash,
Absolutely, yeah.
not, you will subcontract with the city or there's a possibility that you.
Yeah, so that would be the idea, I would think. I can't really speak for them, but that would be the idea, is that if they're not driving down the highway 25 miles to Shawnee or, you know, wherever it is that they decide, you know, are gonna bring it, all of a sudden now they're actually picking up garbage out on the street, you know, out in the neighborhoods, which leaves us not to have to help.
Sure.
And that's another cost savings. I mean, you know, let's face it, I have to charge the city a certain amount per hour for helping, and everything else just to keep myself running, so.
Sure.
So that's another big cost savings.
Any other questions for the applicant?
I don't have any right now.
Okay. Before we, thank you for your time.
You bet.
Before we open it to public comment, those of you who have been here before or listened to me, I take this very seriously, probably too seriously for a volunteer job. But I've done my own kind of research. You know, I know there's a lot of buzz online, on social media, a lot of keyboard warriors out there with a lot of strong opinions. And, you know, I'm born and raised here. I have some strong opinions about this, but I wanted to share with you some of the findings that I had. I went down and talked with some of the city workers that drive our trucks and pick up the trash, and learned that they start out at $16 an hour for their CDLs, where everybody else starts out $18, $20. You know, $16 with all the new requirements for a CDL. It's not very competitive, especially with the county, all of that. I know there was some talk at some time about not having to require a CDL, but the state shot that down because they were gonna go on highways. Perhaps, maybe that is something that we can reconsider, but having to drive, the biggest complaint was about 2 hours round trip to dump off full trucks. That's time that they're not picking up trash in the city and getting home late. A lot of them, you know, overtime is good, but not when you're missing ball games and barbecues and all of that. Someone showed me a picture just of today of the dump that they go down to, and with all the rain that's there's really nobody helping them. There was a truck, not one of our trucks, but a truck just completely stuck in the mud that was holding up the entire line, which cost us, the city, overtime costs. The drivers were getting overwhelmed with that driving. They didn't take that job to drive on the highway. They would do that. One told me they would do that for the extra money. If they wanted to drive, they would just take their CDL and go down to Johnson County and just drive instead of driving our trash trucks. When I talked to them about what this transfer station would do for them and their ability to serve the citizens, pretty generally, I think they were happy with the prospect of not having to have so much road time and windshield time. I'm not sure about the exact overtime costs and fuel costs that are saved here, but I'm sure that's going on in the negotiations. But not just with the city staff. I spent a couple hours. The apartment complex that's just outside of the city's service station where we do the recycling now. There's an apartment complex that is directly in the backyard of that. And I walked around and just talked to people who had lived there for a while and asked them about some of the things that I was hearing online when it comes to the smell and the traffic and all of that. None of the people said anything about the smell. As we were talking actually today two of the trash trucks were parked in there, and they had some trash in there, but recycling is full in there. Most of their complaints was the noise, the beeping and truck noise and all of that, but none had any complaints about the smell. And if you've been to the recycling center there, it's not just recycling, but there is some waste that is there, and at times there are some bins, I think, that have trash in them or whatever, so that's all out in the open. Then the last couple of days, I spent some time visiting with people at, what's the park right there? Stubby Park. Most of them had not been on social media to hear any of this. Two had just moved away from, or had just moved to Leavenworth. They were military. They didn't know anything about the proposal. But the conversation naturally shifted to, what are the trash regulations here? What are the recycling regulations here? And they were interested in knowing that there would be more, and that it wasn't the idea of the city that you can just put out however much trash you want. That is the idea that one of the military members had, just from hearing from other people, that you can just put out as much trash as you want, and as long as it's in a bag, they'll pick it up, which we know is a frustrating process to this. Another two that I talked to, they both have moved in the last year. One had lived here until 2013. They both came back for a visit. When they came back, they noticed nothing had changed. They were thinking about coming back here. The transfer station didn't have any impact in their views of the city. What they were disappointed in is it didn't seem like Leavenworth was growing like other communities. New opportunities, new things for folks to do, that they would like to see that. Some of the folks that have been around for a while, we did talk about the smell that's currently there, and that's the asphalt plant. They asked if it would be more than the asphalt plant. I have no idea. They asked if it would be more than the sewage smell that's already there. I don't know about you all, but I used to practice on the practice field closer to the sewage in the summertime. That can get pretty ripe down there, but I don't know if it'll be any worse than that. Complaints about the traffic, most people that I talked to, they did have complaints about that, but then when I showed them the proposal and they noticed that all of the traffic is on Second, they kind of shrugged their shoulders and said, oh, it doesn't look like the park would see any of that traffic. From the pictures, that seems that seems to be the case. We have to remember that these are renderings, these can change at any time, right? And so that's part of the public being responsible for staying up on this. The same energy and vigor that you have now, hopefully you have in a couple of months when we start talking about the real process. The last thing that I will end, we talked about the impact on property taxes. We all know property taxes have gone up, and that's all mostly based on the assessed values. In Leavenworth County and in the city, one of the biggest, if not the biggest, source of funding for the city is that CCA building, the Community Corrections building, that used to generate over $1 million worth of just property tax revenue. 2019, for example, is assessed at $6.7 million. That generated $867,000 for the city. Of course, they're not using it for a prison, and I talked with the appraiser's office, and they said because they can't use it as a prison, they've had to reduce that valuation. So instead of $6.7 million, it's now valued at $4.1 million. That comes out to about $500,000 in tax revenue just on the property tax. So I encourage everybody to take that into consideration, that when we have such a significant investment in our community, whether it's this or whether it's your own home, that increases the appraised value of things that can increase your taxes, but it can also have some benefits, and we all have to just consider all of that comes with it. And I encourage you, hopefully you've listened to all of this information with an open mind, and are prepared for any public comment that is relevant to this. If you want to get up and sling insults or whatever, just save that. We'll just skip past that. But if you have productive conversation, we'd absolutely love to hear that. I think Michelle has a list. We request that everybody that does speak, that we have your name and address, just for our records. We're required to have that.
Yep, so we'll just go down the list of folks who had signed up, and then once we get through that, if there's anybody else who wants to speak, that's great. We'll just need them to sign in before or after they speak, again, just so we can keep that for the record. And then I would just suggest, if folks have questions for Bobby as they're speaking, things that they want to have addressed, we'll just kind of keep track of those and circle back to all those at the end once everybody's had a chance to speak, and then we can have Bobby come up instead of trying to do it back and forth as each person comes in.
Okay, yep,
So,
sound fair. All right.
who's first?
Okay.
Well, yeah.
Before we begin that, Mr. Chairman, you had indicated you had some questions about overtime. and
Yes,
traffic. We
please.
got those answers. I wanted to
Oh,
provide
thank
them
you.
to So in 2024, the refuse staff overtime budgeted $88,000 for overtime expenses. And if we anticipate not having to work that much, about 2/3 of that will go down. So we're thinking somewhere in the neighborhood of about a $50,000 savings in overtime. And then there is about 1,560 miles a year driven from the city of Leavenworth to Shawnee and back, which equates to about 78,000 miles. It's a 52-mile round trip, and so we would have some significant less travel associated with them. You would ask those questions, and we were able to get that information.
Thank you, Chief, I appreciate that. Fuel costs? Is that separate?
Fuel cost? It will be less.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks. Thanks. All right, go ahead, Michelle, who do you have first?
Okay, Mike Cords.
All right, if we make sure, go ahead and stand up to the podium. Make sure that when you're at the podium, you're speaking into the microphone. That way we can have everything, have a record, and those that are watching online can also hear what you have to say. So please introduce yourself.
Good evening, Mike Cordes, 900 South Esplanade Street. I reviewed the special use permit online, and then obviously listening to this evening's presentation. You've been able to mitigate some of the challenges that I have with what you were looking at, but do request clarification on what I think, or on the mitigation of what I see as 3 challenges maybe not addressed this evening so far. Wind-blown trash. Will there be any type of trash created that would be potentially windborne with bay doors open, etc.? The second thing would be mitigation of noise. With the trucks backing up and with the alarms occurring, is there any way to mitigate some of that noise generated by the facility? And then tire recycling. I noticed that it was stated there would be tire recycling. Is that a case to where the tires, then the used tires, stored inside a warehouse, stored outside, etc.? There again, what's the mitigation on some of the challenges of tires?
Can you restate that question? I don't think I understand
Okay.
what you're asking about the tires. Will they be stored outside?
Basically, yeah. The storage of the tires being recycled, is it outside collection of rainwater, or are those tires then moved inside each evening and so forth?
Okay, great.
Sir, those were just the 3 concerns I had that I did not see addressed specifically. Maybe I was wrong, but.
No, absolutely. Good questions, and like we said, we're gonna just,
Yes, sir.
we'll blast you with questions
Yep.
once we get all done.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right, who do we have next, Michelle?
Ron Kilgore?
Probably Kilgore.
Yeah.
Ron Kilgore, I live at 2214 South Fifth Street. My two concerns were just the windblown trash and odor, and also the traffic. And to speak to the first one, I was going to bring one of my trash bags from this morning, but as I pulled it out of the bin, some of the plastic ripped, and the odor forced me to run to the curb with it and leave it off. And I want everyone to think about, you know, a couple of hundred of those trash bags get put in that truck every day when they come by and crushed and popped. And then they take and they're gonna just dump it out on the ground inside the building and put it into an open-topped trailer, 45-foot trailer, whatever it is, and sit there for a while in any kind of weather and be pulled out. You've also got the situation with insects, rodents, whatever are gonna be there. And it seems to me like it's pretty obvious that there's gonna be a lot of that wafting around in the air as you're driving into Leavenworth on one of its main arteries. And I just think this is the wrong place to put something like that, no matter how well Brothers operates the facility. It seems pretty obvious to me that that's not a good thing. The second is traffic. A lot of trucks, you know, Leavenworth still has the original traffic design from the 1920s when they started making US and state highways. When the highway gets to the town, it becomes one of the streets of the city, goes all the way through the middle of the city and then out the other end. There's no bypass. So everyone knows when you go up and down 4th Street, anytime you have a truck, it's going to be in the left lane. As a 35-year veteran of driving a tractor trailer, I can tell you we do that because when you get in the right lane, people in this area think they have to come to an almost complete stop before they pull into a parking lot or driveway. And driving a tractor trailer, you don't accelerate that fast, so they stay in the left lane to avoid that, which means you're gonna, when you get behind one, you're gonna be behind it all the way past Lansing, all the way down to Baser. And 6 a day, an open top trailer, even if you have a canvas on it, there's gonna be a lot of odor and everything wafting out. It's gonna be very unpleasant. They're open from 7 to 4 or 5. That means if a truck leaves there at 4, it's right in the middle of rush hour leaving town to the south.
Sure.
You know, it just looks to me like we could have put a different welcome to Leavenworth project in that area besides this.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dick Gervasini?
I feel like we should have walk-up speakers.
Dick Gervasini, 108 Vine Street. I have 3 items for your consideration. Having served on the Planning and Zoning Board and the Board of Zoning Appeals, I thought special use permits were supposed to be given based on the utilization of the plot or the land. And all I heard Mr. Hancock give me is a presentation on economics. Point number 1. Point number 2 for your consideration. As the chairman of the Waterworks Board for the city, we have a 12-inch main that goes from 2nd Street to 4th Street, across 4th Street, and up the road over the hill. And that has not been addressed. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. What do we have?
Michelle Becker?
Hi, Michelle Becker, 1516 Fifth Avenue. My concerns is the smell, also the, driving by on 4th Street and seeing the facility. There's a park right there, a newly renovated park, and who as a family wants to sit outside with the noise on a Saturday and listen to trash trucks being dumped and the smell because the doors will be open? There's a restaurant right there. You already have the sewer plant that puts off a terrible odor. That's struggle enough. So you're adding to it. And there's got to be somewhere better. Why can't you consider teaming up with the facility in Lansing and expanding theirs and doing what you're talking about?
Sure. May I ask, so that you heard of, the applicant give mitigation strategies for the visual and for the smell?
Correct.
I'm assuming, since you're still providing comment, those weren't satisfactory.
No,
What would be to your satisfaction?
it wouldn't. I don't.
Just the no transfer center at all?
It's on 4th Street, you're going right through downtown, you have people who come to the cemeteries here, to Fort Leavenworth.
Sure.
And you're driving down 4th Street and that's what you're going to see.
Okay.
I mean, that's, yeah.
Any other?
Nope, no other.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Louis Clem?
Mr. Clown. Mr. Clem. I will.
1816 Pine Ridge Drive. I figure I'm gonna talk for 20 minutes.
Well, I was about to say, I'll make sure that you're limited to 2 to 3 minutes, Mr. Clem. We know each other.
God,
Yes.
it's a city meeting. You know?
Yeah, and the clock is ticking, so.
You talk for 20 minutes. No, talk for
2.
an ungodly amount of time.
Yes, sir.
There's one person older than me here, Ed Weddick. I don't think there's anybody else older. And we have history on Abel's Field.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody in the city cares about the history. Nobody cares. We got a lot of good museums. And it's been interesting that now, all of a sudden, we have somebody wants to take Abel's Field, and I guess the Jewish gentleman sold it to us for $5,000 or something way back when. And we used to fight wars, ROTC, up and down the hill. Nobody understood that, but it was good to fight a war. So, do I really care? I know it's zoned industrial. We have many places, one out there, 2 out on Eisenhower.
And again, we're not here to discuss where a transfer center could be. We're talking about this proposal here today.
Well, I think this is not the place to have it.
Okay, and what reason?
What reason?
Yes.
It's a higher price than what it would be out on Eisenhower in 2 different places.
A higher price for who?
Say again?
A higher price for who? I didn't understand.
To Bob, who's buying it.
Are you advising him for his business?
I'm telling him to look some other place.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, is that
Because
it?
there is a zoning out there.
Mhm.
There's a zoning on 2nd Street.
Okay.
Where the industrial, the oil is, and where the big building is. It's been there for 100 years, and where they launched the war wagons during World War II.
Sure. So lots of history there, yes.
Yeah. Well, history is unimportant. Yeah, there's no sense talking about history because.
Those are your words, sir, not mine.
Yeah, but it already said in this article that the board has already approved.
No.
There was a statement in there saying something.
For cause, I think, is what he's talking about. It was approved for cause previously to rezone it.
Oh, to zone it to industrial 15 years ago?
Right, I didn't read the article, but I am assuming that that's what it's talking about, was when it was rezoned
I think that was 2011?
for cause.
Yeah, 2011 is when it was rezoned.
Yep. So you're right in that we made a decision in 2011 to rezone it to industrial to match.
Let's don't talk about the history because that doesn't mean anything.
Thank you.
Since the Muncies got here in 1850s and the Klimps got here in 1860s.
Thank you.
That's
Thank you,
history.
sir. All right. What do we have next?
Rick on Shrine Park Road.
Yes.
Okay, Rick on Shrine Park Road.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, Rick, I'm quite a ways away from
What's
this
the last
site.
name?
Vernon, Richard Vernon.
Okay, thank you.
So, I'm not really tied to Abel's Field per se emotionally or anything, but, so I have 3 questions also but I'll get to those here in a bit. But I think this is the wrong location. I think it's the wrong location because no matter where we're gonna drive out of it, it still butts up against 4th Street. And for all the reasons, and I'm not a trash guy, but I did pull a study from the EPA here off the internet and read it. And all the things, the wastewater runoff is an issue. It's an issue with the plant or the areas in Kansas City, because I checked and asked around the noise, the traffic, the smell, the sight. The renderings are pretty, but normally we know that what we plan isn't really going to be executed probably like that. There is a big, the trucks, even, and they've been wrestling with this since Kansas City, if you've seen it, trucks with covers, blah, 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 the trash blows out. Fairly large amounts of trash on I-70 all the time when they're driving back and forth. There is a rodent bird issue there. Birds will be could be flying around that site. That is close to where Stubby Park is. I take my grandson there, and so you know that you have rodents, you have other creatures, and that's my concern. I think this is the wrong location. I think there are many other better locations, and I know we're not supposed to talk about that, but I would like you to consider maybe they come with a couple other courses of action than just Stubby, or than just Abel's Field before we move forward with this. So I have 3 questions. One is, how big is the footprint? You're saying it's not as big as 14 acres. How big is it exactly?
He'll answer at the end.
Oh, okay.
We're writing all of these questions down.
So
Yes.
there's that. The next one is, what are these golden factors? You spoke of some golden factors. I have no clue.
The ones the attorney listed out in the
Which were?
beginning of the, we can go through those.
Yes, go through them again if you would, please. And so
Okay.
there seems to be some sort of possible cost savings here based on all of this to the city. So where does that money go? How does it come back to me? How does it reduce my tax burden to the city?
Right.
Because if we're getting money back, I don't want you to just keep it. You have a budget. Will my utilities be reduced? Will my property taxes go down? Even if it's $1, hey, $1 is $1.
Agreed.
And I'd like to say one other thing. So, you know, like I said, I'm not a trash guy. And I spent most of my time, 40 years in the military, but I have in the last 16 years owned a uranium company in Colorado. So I know how things go when somebody says this. I know exactly how it really does go. And it is not exactly, you know, when they say, oh, we're going to mitigate this and do that, yeah, I got it. It doesn't normally go that way.
Sure.
And there are some unintended consequences. I don't know what they are here. I think there will be smell. I think there will be garbage blowing around. I think it will affect that park. And I think this area could be used, and I have ideas for it, for something much better than this for the community. And again, if you know, so I'm against it, location. But there are locations very, very close, and I'd like you to consider those also.
Okay, thank you. Well stated, thank you. Who we got?
Alicia Herzog.
Hi, my name is Alicia Herzog. I am at 316 South Street. I just wanted to make a comment. I am a citizen of the city. I am a user of the park next door to it. And I want to commend Brothers Disposal on their plan to create a transfer station. Based on the factors presented, I think it's very important that we create one, not only to the cost savings, but to the citizens of the city. But as a mother, and as a person who frequents the facilities at Stubby Park, I'm a little concerned, even with the mitigation efforts that are laid out and seem to be very well thought out and planned. I worry about going to that park. I attended a birthday party there recently at the newly renovated shelter. The facilities were amazing there, and I thought it was a wonderful addition to the park. And I'm very sorry to hear that we may potentially have a location right next door that could add to the sounds already, which are it's already loud there with 4th Street right there. I'm just concerned with the smell and the rodents, right? The pests, the insects that will be increased inevitably just because of the way of the facility. agree completely that it is necessary that we have a transfer station. I just am very concerned about the location. And I wish that you will really consider it in terms of a citizen of the city for this location, and maybe encourage the party to request or consider another location. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. And I'll just remind everyone, so this is a special use permit to create a transfer center. So if the special use permit is not approved, whoever owns that property can do whatever they want with it. And if they wanted to fill it with unmitigated trash, they could do that with their property. So just consider that. Who do we
Well,
have?
with allowed uses within the
Well,
zoning
with,
district,
yes,
yes.
yes, but any industrial operation could be.
There could be, for instance, a concrete plant.
It's getting nailed.
All right, who's next?
Anna Enter.
I'm Anna Enter, and I live over on 1501 Columbia. Been a resident here since 1956, so I have a lot of history there at Abel's. I think too we need a transfer station. I don't believe that that location is the right place for it. When it comes to recycling now, I try to recycle. I don't really have a recycling place at my home. I have boxes trying to put, trash cans and plastic and paper, and then I put it all in my car, and then I go over to this recycling place, and then it's closed, and then it's been closed for months, and then I go over on Saturdays, and it's lined up all the way around the corner, so you can't even get to it. So then I get frustrated, so I just throw it in the trash and put it out on the street. Well, then people don't come, the trash doesn't come, and then they're coming days later. So my question is, when it comes to the transfer station, you're talking about trucks coming into town. Well, and you gotta be on the left-hand side in order to make big turns to be able to turn to, go down towards Price Chopper, then goes the back side to go in to be able to get into the place on the 2nd Street. You're gonna have lots of major big turns, and so if you can't make that turn, if you're in the right-hand lane, so now you're gonna be in a left-hand lane, and you're gonna have cars coming this way. There's gonna be lots of accidents, I see, of trucks trying to get turned around to get over on 2nd Street to be able to go in the back way. When it comes to going into the recycling place that they're talking about, this is great. This is kind of like a dream world if it really works that way and it stays that way and it has green grass and it's pretty, But if you're trying to go in there as myself, now I got my car full of recycles. Now I go in that same gate that big semi truck goes in, that's gotta go get the trash. So am I gonna be first, or am I gonna be second, or is the truck gonna go before me or behind me? And because it looks like it only have one road, so I get to turn off to the first to do the recycling, but then the truck's gotta keep on going straight to go up and around, so I know what kind of, with the minimum recycling over where we have now, the truck and the cars and how to get in and out. I just do not see how those big trucks that keep going in and out, you're saying 6 and 7 a day with vehicles, personal vehicles going in there. So I do not believe that that is the right location. I'm also part of the First City Museum and all of the old history of Leavenworth. That's almost 100-year-old, historical landmine or landmark, Landmine. It could be a landmine. We called it a landmine back in the days when we played football there, but anyway, so that's a historical site. We're only 4 years away, for that. And so we're trying to we're the first city of Kansas, We want to have that, history of what Leavenworth is. Coming into Leavenworth and coming down 4th Street, which is the only way to get from Lansing to the bridge and then go in that direction, you have to go down 4th Street. So if you have those plaques or whatever put into the fence like they have over there at the recycling place, that looks really pretty tacky. So if you're going to start putting plaques so you can't see in or see, what they're talking about, what's that going to make 4th Street look like? And now you're coming in, we're supposed to be the first city of Kansas, we're supposed to invite people in our town to grow and all that. How can we do that if it's right in the middle of town? We have something that can have all these issues that everybody's bringing up. So I'm just saying, I believe we need to have a transfer station, but I do not believe that that is the right location, and I would rather have that as a 100-year-old landmark, you know.
So can I ask you, you would prefer it to stay exactly as it is right now?
I think it should be like, it's a walking track, it could be a little park in there.
Not what it could be, but you would be okay with it just remaining the way it is?
Well, right now, leaving the way it is, because I know
Okay.
when it comes to.
That would be ideal for you as people come into the city to see what they see now, would be better than seeing a
Yes.
transfer center. Okay.
Because then you're gonna have, now you're also having 6 semis or something, they're talking about trucks, you know, at least 6 a day or something
Sure.
come and go and, you know, that's a lot of semis coming down trying to make a right-hand turn right there by Price Chopper to go to the backside. So
Sure.
anyway.
Thanks.
I agree, so,
Yeah.
good job.
Chief, the 2 intersections over there, the one just.
There's 2, 4th and Marion and 4th and Poplar.
And those are recently redeveloped?
Right, 4th and Poplar before, and 4th and Marion had been for Geiger trucks and the asphalt plant.
Has there been any difficulties or any jackknifing or anything of trucks trying to make that turn for the asphalt plant or for?
I'm sure there have been accidents, I would never say never, but I'd have to take a quick peek to see if it's increased. But yeah, the 4th and Marion was completely widened.
Yeah, it was redone, I think, to specifically allow for truck movements.
Chairman, I can speak on that. Before I came to work for the city, I worked for an engineering company that inspected that project for the city of Leavenworth.
Okay.
I was an inspector on that, and just, I'm not arguing anything about anything. There's a lot of trucks that come in town, so that was a KDOT design, and there is a large radius at that corner,
Yeah.
so trucks don't have to get in the left lane. And you'll see the lines, traffic signal, or traffic marking, pavement markings. That was designed for that. Geiger uses it, they have semis that deliver rock all the time. The asphalt plant has semis that pick up asphalt and come in empty and leave there. I just wanna point that out.
Sure.
I'm not trying to defend it one way or the other.
I understand that, but.
It was designed for trucks.
And that went into the city's assessment of this permit, right? Making sure that.
Yeah,
everything-
and thinking that the truck traffic would be directed through Marion, like Mike was saying.
And
That intersection was specifically designed to handle trucks.
Was that really designed for, coming from the south northbound?
Yes, that large radius
But
is,
not so much going west and turning southbound?
not necessarily, no.
It's mainly for just turning in there,
Yeah, you're right.
not getting out of there.
Yeah, you're right.
Thank you.
Because getting out of there, you could clip the car in the middle lane.
Right.
I got you. Yeah, but I just wanted to point that out.
Absolutely, and it's a good point. I mean, we
Okay.
need to be looking and make sure that intersection isn't gonna be a problem area.
And the number of trucks now is way greater than 6. Now, whether they hold the 6, I don't know.
Sure.
But we can't foresee the future.
Thank you. Who else do we have?
Last one is Linda Bonsack.
Where's Linda?
Linda, it's right behind you.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Linda Bonsack. I live at 701 North 12th Street in a beautifully renovated, historic little home. This whole town is full of beautifully preserved little homes and older buildings that make this town a wonderful place to live. And we also have beautiful new subdivisions. And we have wonderful commerce and a lot of economic and other development opportunities in town. And a lot of these have been developed over the last 25 years since I moved here. I came here as a planner for the Leavenworth County, served also as a planner for Tonganoxie for a while, and then also in DeSoto, Kansas. And I also served on this commission for several years. The use that is being proposed for this site is a particularly obnoxious use. Probably the only worse use I could think of for this site would be a salvage yard. And it's not because of of how well they can screen it or anything like that, it's still going to be a loud, and it's going to be a noisy, and a distasteful use, no matter how many buildings they put on there and how much they pave the site and route the traffic around. There's still going to be a lot of that. It's on the main street through town, a famous historic town in the state of Kansas, and we're proud of that. I may not have been born and raised here, but I've lived here long enough to feel that I belong, and I love this town. And I hate to see it being used in this way in such a beautiful site as the Abels Field. The first year I moved here, I rented a little house on Pine Street, several blocks from the field. But in the fall, I could sit out on the porch and hear the crowds cheering as the high school teams took the field. It was just a beautiful part of small town life, small city life. And there are other sites that are available that for this type of use that would not be quite as public, quite as visible. The field was built below the street for visibility. People wanted to see into the site. And it's going to take many, many years to grow trees up to be able to buffer and screen that site from the public view. And another thing you need to remember in your considerations is that once a use like this goes in, it never leaves. You can never get rid of it. So please consider your decisions tonight. It's very important for the future of this city.
And I'll ask you the same question. So you would prefer it to remain as it is right now? You would be fine with that use? And the visibility that represents?
I'm going to have to ask you to speak up because I have no hearing at all. I'm sorry.
The condition that Abels Field is in now, are you okay keeping that condition? If this doesn't go through and it stays exactly the same as it is now, as it appears now?
Keeping the use as it is now?
Yes.
I think that there could be, with a little creativity, a lot more done with that site.
Right, but if nothing happens, you would be satisfied?
It's an amazing site.
Sure, but if nothing happens, you would be satisfied with that?
But I think that we could find something better if we have to develop it than a dump.
Okay, thank you. All right. Is that?
That was the last one that we had signed up.
Okay, so we'll open it up. If you have something to ask, please come up to the podium. Mr. Beal, you can be first.
And then if anybody who comes up that doesn't speak, if they could just sign in on the sheet that's over there, or this one, just so we have that for the record.
So once he starts speaking, if you'll come up and do that, I'll appreciate that. Tom, I'll do the same and make sure that you stay between 2 and 3 minutes.
Oh, I could do that.
Okay.
I would just say, he's got some trees he's showing, but they're like trees that.
Make sure you buy the
Trees that
microphone.
lose leaves every fall. I would rather see evergreen trees that stay green all year.
Okay.
Because we're using it to do the natural camouflage. Evergreen trees would work.
Okay.
Also, I have seen trash trucks just ignited fire. So if you have a fire, you got fire hoses, fire,
Fire suppression, just in general, right?
Yeah, and a fire hydrant. Or is our fire trucks gotta bring the pumpers in to put out the fire?
Okay.
And everybody's right, this isn't really the ideal spot. Sure. But it will help the city. Now, if the city's trying to save money because they're trucking down there an hour and a half to 3 hours back, that might be an expense, $50,000-$60,000 a year in fuel. But when he's hiring another company to bring their 6 tractor trailers up here to load his trash, they're gonna charge him a big fee to haul that trash out. Now, if the big fee and the prices of hauling this trash out of his facility to another facility way exceeds the cost of our city trucks driving it down and dumping it themselves, he's gonna raise the price to dump it. So are we gonna save any money dumping our trash in town or
wear and tear on our vehicles and fuel, when his prices are gonna be this high to cover the cost that he's acquiring to get them loaded and shipped out of town. So if this, for instance, if the city's spending $50,000 a year to get them dumped down there, and he says, oh, well, it's gonna cost us $80,000 a year to load it and haul it out. Is the city saving any money? Sure. No, the city won't save a dime because he's gotta compensate for his costs to get it moved. Okay, yeah, our employees, they might not get their 40 hours a week because they don't have to drive down there, unload and be back and do their route and take a 3-hour window there to go unload their truck.
Sure. Okay.
It's catch-22.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay, thanks, Tom. All right, we have, and if there's someone behind this gentleman, just come on up and put your name on the yield sheet, please.
My name is Joseph Hancock, 1119 Limit Street. Just starting off, I would like to preface and just say that actions speak louder than words sometimes. I think that from my experience just being around the sports climate in Leavenworth, I think me and or my brother's team have been the last two to probably ever play on Abels Field, however many years ago that was. In all my life living here, I've heard of a lot of things being said to going to happen there. Obviously nothing's there. You drive by and not many of you seem to have, but there's a lot of debris, concrete piles, overgrown weeds, the track is all cracked up. It's an eyesore, and it's honestly a little bit hurtful to me knowing that I spent, like that one gentleman was saying, that amount of history on that field, and to see it in the condition it's in today, it is truly saddening for me. With all the stipulations that were put in place and thought from the city and Brothers Disposal, I think that it's worth giving gratitude for that someone is actually wanting to help develop our city, rather than let it be a place for homeless people to sleep and graffiti on the walls and messed up concrete and who knows what else is going to happen there. So I think that in itself is a very positive note for the city. Obviously with anything, same with the sewer waste systems that are over there and everything, there's going to be implications. The same with the Walmart, there's going to be more traffic, right? There's negatives and there's positives to everything. And I think a lot of people came in with preconceived notions today concerning that. So with all of that, just to kind of wrap that up, if not this, then who's going to step up and put something on this property to make it usable in the foreseeable future? Because, with the hundreds of thousands of dollars that the city's spending in addition to disposing of waste when we could do it in town, and also create more jobs, I can only imagine that tax dollars are gonna raise as well, and then you're losing more money than what you were wanting to gain in the first place. So that's all I have to say.
All right, thank you. Who else? I think we just had somebody lucky. Come on up.
Cassandra? Hi, my name's Cassandra Blakely. I live at 1000 Fifth Avenue. Essentially, I've lived in Leavenworth since 1978. And my question, well, first of all, my opinion is that this is not the place to have a transfer station. But my question is, so a private person owns that land now. The Brothers wants to get it re-permitted so that they can move there. So, but those people still own the land. So is Brothers gonna buy it from the people who own it? And so we still haven't gotten to the point where they're building there. After it is, if the permit is approved, then go for it. Or are there more steps in the process that the citizens can have a voice in the process?
Absolutely, and I'll go ahead and address that now. So this is the first read of this. We make our recommendation, whether it's to approve, deny, or table it. Whatever we decide here, then that goes to City Commission. City Commission has 2 hearings, I think, right? Am I?
They have 2, let's use the word hearing, they are not necessarily required to hold a public hearing.
Sorry.
But that does come before the City Commission, and the City Commission has the authority to decide whether to accept additional public comment or not?
There's two readings.
Yes.
There are two readings of this, and the public can make public comment to the city commissioners even before that, and I think some have reached out to city commission. Those are elected leaders, so you can talk with them at any time, and I encourage people to do that. But whatever decision is made this evening by this body then just goes up as a recommendation to the city commission, and it'll be announced when that's on the agenda. I don't know if it would make it on the very next agenda, or
Yeah,
I mean, with the fourth and all of that, it may maybe a couple of meetings before it gets on the agenda there, but it would be on the agenda.
it'd be July 23rd is when, would be the earliest that they would hear it.
Okay. Does that answer your question?
It does, thank you.
Okay. And as far as the transfer of the property, I think the applicant addressed that they're in the purchasing process, that they would be the owners of that.
Can I ask a question? I would like to ask the present owner of the property, when they purchased it and how long they've had it. That would be Mr. Cobbs. When did you purchase the property?
I believe it was, when the school board sold it, so. How long is that? I don't know.
What year was that?
2010.
2010 is when you established the LLC for Abel's Property LLC.
And how come there was nothing done before this time with Abel's Field, or why wasn't it kept up?
It was actually listed for sale for.
Well, first, can we have you step to the microphone, and can we have you
pick it up,
introduce yourself to everyone else here? Thanks, Don.
My name's Steve Cos, and I am one of the owners, and we bought the property back in, I guess, 2010. And it was listed for sale for quite a while. We hauled some dirt in to try and improve it, to make it a little bit more saleable, and that didn't have the outcome we wanted. So then we worked with an Indian reservation or tribe, and they kind of backed out at the last minute. And so then we just took it off the market.
Well, my question was, so you first purchased it as an investment, not that you didn't purchase it and have an idea what to do with it. Is that correct?
I'd say that would be correct.
Okay. So it was a speculation property that you bought?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I just wondered why it hadn't been taken care of, even though you had it for sale.
What do you mean by taking care of?
Well, everybody's talking about how terrible it looks over there,
Well, it's just a construction laydown area right now is what we're using it for, so.
Yeah, and we haven't kept the graffiti off the walls till late.
That's
those are tabs that are on the walls. Thank you, Mr. Cobbs, I appreciate it.
Thank you for that. Okay. Any others? All right, let's bring the applicant back up.
So I'll go ahead and, since that one's fresh in my mind, the tire warehouse, let's face it, guys, that's not the best looking building on 4th Street. And we could go from north to south. I mean, we could all do that. The fact is that it's a vacant piece of property. That is a mural on that wall. It has had graffiti on it, but it is literally a mural. There's actual pictures along that wall. Now, there was graffiti on the arch that has since been painted over. And there's graffiti downtown. There's my containers get graffiti. So yeah.
Can I mention one thing to you? When you talked about the building, the tire company, the reason that building has not been torn down is an EPA problem, because that was a battery field.
Okay.
And batteries were made there, and it got into the ground, so the building has to stay. That's why that building has not been removed. So they could only use it for that because of environmental protection agency, because of the battery
I
acid and
understand.
everything. that's in
I
it.
think my point is probably just that there's quite a few
Oh, I understand perfectly.
areas.
I understand perfectly. I'm just making a suggestion to comment to you about that. Yes, sir.
The city could have tear down the place, some of them broken windows. The place is an eyesore.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Beal. Let's try to keep it all together. I know we've been here for a while and everybody's getting antsy, but let's try to finish this out with the process.
Yeah, and I just say, if we could just not have people talking in the background, it does kind of interfere with the recording quality, and we won't be able to
Yeah,
do the
and there
minutes and keep
are,
track
I'm
of
sure,
that, yeah.
people listening online.
We don't do it live for these meetings,
okay.
but yeah, for when it is.
For the recording or
Put out there,
whatever
yeah.
it is, so that everybody can hear that.
Yep.
I would like you, there were several mentions of the arch and the historical significance of the arch in the
Yeah.
property. Can you speak to your plans and
Right,
consideration?
so I didn't hear any specifics about the arch, but the history of the field itself. Yeah, and Mr. Clamp, I completely understand. I'm not sure if he's here yet or still. But again, guys, we played football there. We played soccer there. We ran track there. I bought a lot of hot dogs there. I may have kissed my first girlfriend there. I'm not going to commit to that. There is a lot of history there. We understand that. The fact of the matter is, it's not a football field anymore. And it ceased being a football field, well over a decade ago. And the permit, when it was approved for heavy industrial, at that time, one of the uses, when it was approved, one of the permitted uses at that time was a solid waste transfer station. If you go down the list of everything that you could possibly do, that was one of them. Since then, it's been changed to a special use permit. My point is, just as you said, Chairman, it can be a lot of things. There's a lot of things that can move in there. Just going down the list, it can be an automotive parts recycling business. It can be a junkyard salvage yard. It can be a lot of different things. So yeah, there is definitely that.
Okay.
It's zoned, so.
In the proposal, I saw a plan to maintain and upkeep the arch.
Yeah, so that was in the nature of request.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the part where we said, that's definitely under negotiation. At this point, and a lot of people do love the arch. I love the arch. I think it's really cool. Is it structurally sound? What exactly does it take to keep that and maintain it? Nobody really knows, and it's probably in the 6-digit number. So those are a lot of things, and again, a lot of the people really, they feel personal about it, and I understand. I completely understand.
Several people mentioned pest and rodent mitigation.
Right.
We hadn't discussed that.
Right.
What are your?
And that is part of the KDHE permitting issue, the inspection issue, and keeping that under control. Again, our biggest way to combat that is to not have any garbage outside left over overnight. That's obvious, our very biggest way to combat that. Anything that's left over, and I'm just being honest with you, would be inside in the trailer, not on the floor, which by the way is a concrete floor. It's not the ground. So yeah, and doors closed and the entire deal. But yet there's a lot of other ways to control any type of rodents, just like anywhere, just like the garbage that's up underneath the bridge that we cleaned out. There's ways to combat that type of stuff.
Okay. intersection, I've already forgotten the intersection.
Yeah, at Marion. So, and that, you know, so we're talking about 6 tractor trailers, possibly, maybe 5, over a 9-hour period, okay? And we talked about how it was made for people, for them coming in, but they've obviously got to get out somehow. and they've definitely made it out of there somehow. It does have a turning lane now with a flashing yellow, and then another one to turn right and to go straight. And it's actually turning onto a 4-lane road. And any type of tractor trailer driver or even big truck driver knows to take that outer lane. Again, they're coming in, they're getting out somehow also.
Okay. Questions?
Go ahead.
Oh, if you weren't done, go ahead.
Oh, no, go
would just-
ahead. I tried to write down all the questions. A bunch of them kind of seem the same, but I can go through that and then see, or
Yeah, this
go
was one
ahead.
of them.
Okay.
One of the ladies, I believe it was a lady, asked about the tires, which isn't even part of the transfer
Right.
station, but she asked about the tires and if they were outside because she was worried about them getting the water in them, and then
Right.
of course the mosquitoes.
Yeah, so those would be in a box truck. And then stacked in a box truck. When that's full, then that's taken to the tire facility. So yeah, nothing would be outside, nothing. Even the recycle bins they're basically the same as what the center has now. Even those are enclosed.
Footprint, a gentleman asked
Oh, yeah.
how big the footprint was, because it's 14 acres, but how many
Right.
acres is this actually taking up? Was
Right.
one of the
So
questions.
if you can picture that top right corner of the building, that is basically right at the goalpost, okay? And then the bottom right corner is right along the track. You see the concrete area to the left, that's where the old visitor stands were. So basically from the goalpost to the outer edge of the track, that's 126 feet. And then 70 feet going to the left or south. So in rough numbers, it's about 50 yards by 40 yards. And that's with the concrete that's in front of it, which is what we call the apron, basically where people would pull up and then turn back up. So that's about 40 yards, 50 by 40 yards for that portion. And then obviously the asphalt in the middle is about the same. I mean, you can kind of gauge right there. So, you know, the scale is about 40 feet long. Recycling area down there, you know, you can pretty much gauge that. I'm gonna take a wild guess and say that there's 9 to 10 acres left of green space right there, just by looking at it.
So I asked that question. So
Oh,
you're
right.
saying, how many acres are there, 14?
Correct.
So you're only using 5 acres? If there's 9 or 10 left?
Yeah, I mean, you gotta have, you know, another one of the questions was the stacking, as far as vehicle stacking, you know, they didn't wanna get caught behind trucks and stuff. So we've gotta have that longer approach. You know, right now, the county transfer station, their line goes out to Gilman a lot of the times, which is actually a public road. Whereas this would be right there, you know, so you've gotta have room, you know, to maneuver, for sure. And the vehicle stacking, you don't wanna.
Just shout it out.
We can't have back and forth with the audience, we're gonna have to have, yeah, we're gonna have to cut it off.
I just want to remind you that that end zone is exactly where that 12-inch water main goes through.
Actually.
And it was put, excuse me.
Okay.
Yeah, this isn't gonna be in the record if we're having comments from the.
In 1942.
Okay.
So I'm glad that you brought that up, I have that on my list also. So the water main actually is in the south end, and it actually, it's a different picture now, but it actually angles
She's
across
pulling up
there.
the utilities right now.
Gotcha. And you know, beforehand, there was a concession stand there was bathrooms, there was all that good stuff. So the water main actually, it actually goes from here to there, straight across here, basically at an angle about like that. That's where the water main is, and you're right, it's a 12-incher, and it's been located, and there's little blue flags out there if you happen to drive by and take a look, they're located right there. But that's a good point, yeah.
Yes.
And there's also already water up in here for the concession stand, and it's already there, you just have to locate it and then actually make use of it.
You've also heard quite a bit of concern about the smell and the view still.
Right, and I guess I would equate that with the noise also, the question on the noise. There was a good point made, so that entire area along the right there, that used to be, and you used to play football down there for practice, it was probably 15 feet down right there.
It's a swamp.
So that was all brought in dirt. I live here, you know, I drove by there all the time. I had no idea that it even got there, you know, and I venture to say that a lot of people never heard it getting there. They used the same 2nd Street entrance. They brought the dirt in, they compacted it, they leveled it, they planted grass, and now it's basically level within about 4 or 5 feet of the actual field. And people never even heard that it was there. The other difference is Stubby Park is there to the north. Everything that's gonna happen right there is right in this area. You know, those trees are a big factor to keep noise down. We've also got them along the building there to keep noise down, to keep, you know, anything down.
There's a question about blowing trash.
Yeah, so the question about blowing trash, you know, we would obviously require anybody coming in to be tarped and find them, you know, really make it sting if they get there without a tarp. We would also have people patrolling 4th Street, and again, we don't even anticipate that, but we'd obviously commit to, you know, keeping our neighborhood clean. But we don't even anticipate any type of thing like that. You know, the county transfer station now, they don't have people walking up and down the road looking. There just really isn't that issue. If there is, it may be out on a main road, which obviously there's laws against that, and then, you know, we would try to catch them when they came in without a tarp and that type of thing. The big trailers that we talked about, Kansas City and hauling, that type of thing, it again all goes to the integrity of the company and the company hauling it, that type of thing. The equipment, how that's maintained, and the whole deal. You know, we've got a lot of trash trucks running around here now, whether it be waste management, you know, whoever, dumpsters, this and that, and there's no change in there. We're not bringing in an extra, you know, hey, Kansas City, come on up here. It's not that. It's really maintaining the garbage that we have now as a city. So none of that would change other than, you know, possibly 6 trailers going out over a course of a 9-hour day.
And those trailers are tarped, or are they
That's
open?
correct.
Just
Yeah, so
open
those
trash
are open
flying
top
out?
so that you can dump the trash in. But then they are tarped, and, you know, and again, you know, you're traveling down the highway, you certainly don't want those fines at all. So that goes on the hauler, that goes on everybody, yeah. The tarps are maintained. You load it correctly so that it doesn't rip the tarp, so that you're not spending more money on tarps and that type of thing.
Okay. How would you estimate the smell to be a problem?
Yeah, so
how do you a better question, like, how do you even mitigate that? You've been in the trash business, like, how do you even make a determination that your
so the
mitigation
mixers would be
strategy?
going on constantly, that type of thing. You want to get it off the floor as quick as you can. You gotta have readily available trailers. So you don't go cheap on the amount of trailers. You don't go cheap on the person hauling the trailers, and you get it off the floor, into the trailer, and right back out.
Right.
That type of thing. you know, the misters, the doors, again, I think it's one of those things where you can point at a lot of different things that actually make smells, like even stagnant water and that type of thing. And, you know, we mitigated it as very good as we can, and, you know, with all of that. Even dumpsters, you know, dumpsters, if you want to think about a smell of a dumpster sitting, you know, we pick up plenty of restaurants downtown here. I may have left that out. We pick up about 300 commercial customers here in town. Taco Bell's, Starbucks, you know, Luigi's. We pick up a lot of restaurants around here. And if they're only dumped 3 times a week and that garbage is sitting in there on Tuesday and Thursday, how are people possibly eating around that? You know, they are, you know, so.
Okay. What, did I miss any questions?
Fire suppression.
Oh, fire suppression, yep.
Yeah, so that's another KDHE thing, and you absolutely have to make sure that you have a fire station that knows that you're there. And then we would also have fire suppression type stuff in the building.
Is there a hydrant there?
I was just trying to, it's on
Go
one of
ahead.
these
On a
layers.
transfer station, what it is it's called a dry system.
Oh,
So,
sure.
you know, we installed sprinklers in our building. The last thing we wanna do is lose the investment of our building.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have a nice fire suppression system inside the building, so if something were to spark, we'd be able to put it.
And that comes down to the same type of thing. You know, we talked about the, you know, the trash truck sitting with a little bit of trash on it. It's basically the same exact thing. I mean, everything has a way to possibly have an issue, even when it comes down to a battery on a vehicle.
Will you be accepting electronic waste and
Yes.
batteries and all of that too?
Right.
Still? Okay.
Yeah, we want to take as much off the city as we can. It would be silly for us to take part of that recycling issue and then say, no, you gotta be there for a battery, you know?
Okay. What other
Do you have something, sir?
I think there was just a question, maybe if you could go over a little bit more about the traffic flow internal to the site and how people are gonna.
Yeah, so they were
Kinda come
talking
in.
about the stacking of possibly, if you're dropping off recycling, you didn't want to be around the big trucks. And again, that lane, so this is 126 feet. You know, so if you could picture 70, 126, and then another, you know, 100 feet right there before you even get to the recycling area. You know, we're talking about, that would be a lot of vehicles. There would have to be, you know, a lot of things going on for that to actually be bound up. And again, to run something efficiently, just like anything, it, you know, when you think about a drive-through at a restaurant, you just work through that. You want to work as efficiently as you possibly can and get that taken care of. You don't want people waiting in line. Because again, that's part of the issue now is people waiting in line.
And it sounded like you were routing recycling traffic to one area, commercial traffic would be.
Absolutely. We want the recycling, because, I mean, I don't want to stereotype a person that recycles, but I expect them to just be in a car with their trunk or an SUV with their trunk to have recycling in it. And they don't want to be sitting in line to drop it off on the way to wherever they're going that day. And they don't need to be around trucks or, you know, whatever. So yeah, we want to make that as easy as possible. Come right in, get it dropped off, and get right back out of there.
I think that's what I had written down, if I may.
Do you want to review the golden factors, Andy?
Yes. Any other, before we do that, we'll let the attorney.
We were talking about the trees and what
Oh,
kind.
yes, evergreen versus.
Yeah, so I just wanted to pull that up really quickly, and I've got it right here. So just on one end, you know, on the north end, there's 10 2-inch autumn blaze maples on the hill, staggered with 7 9-foot eastern cedars between the maples. There are 10-gallon gold-tip juniper spreaders. There's 9 barks and more junipers all through there, and that's just on the north end.
Sure.
So So yeah, we definitely thought about that as well.
Yeah, there'd be.
And as you can see, you know, those trees are lined in an L shape around the building to again, keep noise down and that type of thing also.
Okay. All right, we can have a rereading of the.
So let me go a little bit bigger picture to start here. In zoning decisions like these, a city is supposed to make, its determinations are supposed to be reasonable. You're not supposed to act in an arbitrary or capricious manner. What the Golden Factors refers to is a case called Golden v. City of Overland Park, which is a 1978 case decided by the Kansas Supreme Court. And speaking very broadly, one of the problems the courts were facing in considering zoning matters was that they were getting records up in the court that they had no idea on what basis cities were making their determinations. You know, either the minutes weren't very well reflected, there's no staff reports, there's nothing like that. So courts were kind of left in like, we've got no idea how to decide these cases. So what the Kansas Supreme Court did is they set forth a list of 8 factors that they thought cities should be considering these factors in rezoning. Those factors are not all extensive in some ways. Sometimes 6 of the 8 factors might be applicable, sometimes 1 might weigh out the others. Sometimes there can be some that aren't applicable at all, but they try to kind of say, here's some factors that we really want these cities in a showing of consideration. Whether you decide for or against it, we need to have something that shows you considered these types of things. And now this was a rezoning case that they did. Generally speaking, as SUPs and conditional use permits kind of became more popular and being used, Kansas courts have generally treated them very similar to how you should consider rezoning cases as well. So the factors that, the Golden Factors, named after the Golden case, were that cities should consider the character of the neighborhood, the zoning and uses of nearby property, the suitability of the subject property for the uses to which it has been restricted, and that is generally, can the property be developed as it's been zoned? Or is a change in some kind, whether a change in zoning or perhaps issuance of a special use permit? The extent to which the change will detrimentally affect nearby properties is something you're directed to consider. The length of time that the subject property has remained vacant as currently zoned. The idea being that is the current zoning or the current lack of a permit or issuance permit, is that somehow inhibiting development? The relative gain to the public health, safety, and welfare, the balancing act on if you approve something, how does that harm the community versus if you don't, how does that harm the individual landowner itself, and kind of where do those balance out? The recommendations of your professional staff is the 7th factor, and the last one was conformance with your comprehensive plan. Now, Kansas statute also has, there's a statute in there that allows cities to enact their own regulations as well, and in this case, as in your staff report, the city has 4 other factors that they have you consider. Those are the main factors, and some of them kind of vibe in line with what the Golden Factors are. But the idea being is that as you consider these things, those are the types of things you should be considering. And I'm not here to tell you one way or the other how those factors weigh, but it'd be my recommendation that as you discuss this and make your recommendations to the city council, that those are the types of considerations that you take into account.
Thank you for that, and that is really helpful. All right, so
Just if you want to close the public hearing before you.
We'll
yeah.
close the public hearing. Thank you all for your comments, and I appreciate them, and continue them going.
There's one gentleman before you close that had a question.
So I had one more question that hasn't been answered. I had 3. You hit the 2. The last one was the cost savings. It seems like there's gonna be some cost.
Yes.
How does that come back to?
And so, yes, sorry, we did miss that one. I think at this time, the city probably can't give too much information about that. However, if this were to progress to the city commission, those folks would be better equipped to answer that, because here, all we're talking about is a special use permit. One of the things that we do consider is if it would have any economic gain or whatever, property tax values, all of that kind of stuff. But as far as specifics, we can't answer that tonight. But I encourage you to ask those questions if it moves along.
And that may also be something that's separate from a land use question. You know, there's some discussion that the city may or may not enter into a contract with Brothers on this, and those will be negotiated. And you know, at this point, there isn't an agreement that's being presented to the city commission.
Right, and that also goes to, I think somebody else made a point about prices and fluctuation and this and that if we enter into a contract. Right. That would be there. So discussion amongst the commissioners?
Close the hearing.
Oh, well, officially close the hearing. Thank you. All right, we'll open it for discussion amongst the commissioners. If you have anything, questions or just discussion, or I'll entertain a motion. Up to you if there's.
I guess my biggest question is maybe our.
Could you just speak up, Don?
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm
speak, make
sorry.
sure we capture that, yeah.
Okay, my biggest question is, if we zone it and they don't get their financing, should we, we agreed that it should be zoned for a transfer station and they don't get their financing, does that zoning stay in place?
Just to clarify, it's not a rezoning, it's a special use permit.
Special use permit. If they don't get their zoning, if they don't get their financial wherewithal, they don't get their loan or it's build this, maybe that's a question for.
I mean, the special use, it depends on what kind of conditions you put. I mean, if it's just a straight, we're granting a special use permit on this as to the property, then if it's not then another user could come in and perhaps have a special use permit to do that. It could, you know, if it doesn't go through, the financing come through, some other future developer could come in and say, well, I don't need the special use permit, I'm gonna develop for an industrial use because that's what I'm already allowed, or request something else that requires special use permit. There are conditions you could consider, such as amount of time to put on something like this. I would have to take a look more if it's gonna be personal to a certain applicant, that could be a condition of some kind. So there are some things to do that, but, you know, ultimately my expectation would be that if you approve a special use permit of some kind, generally speaking, what would run with the land for whatever amount of time is determined, unless and until you put on some sort of other different conditions on it.
Like we could put a condition on.
Well, I believe staff might even have some.
Yeah, so it would depend on what you wanted to do. So, like Attorney Waters said, we could potentially limit it to a specific user. So the special use permit could be conditional upon being operated by Brothers LLC. Like he said, you could put a time limit on it, 5 to.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
But if we voted to limit it to only Brothers disposal and say the next 6 months or whatever, that doesn't allow somebody else to come in, and that doesn't change the designation to a transfer station and allow somebody else to come in.
So I think it would be more that the special use permit was tied not only to the land, but to this certain operator, to Brothers LLC. And then as far as a time frame, that's generally more like a 5 or 10 year period where then it would come back for review
So like
at that
on the
point.
personal thing, I think the city has done that before with special use permits for childcare and such, that's been an issue. You know, in terms of time, if that was to be a consideration, there's certainly a balancing act. You know, you may want review periods to make sure that it's all going well. Too short a time period doesn't provide a developer any incentive to go and get financing or a bank to approve anything if they say, well, this could be taken out from under us in 2 years. So we'll never see a return on investment. So that, you know, could be a problem on that end as well. So, you know, that's a balancing act that would need to be considered as to what sort of, if you wanted to put a time period on it, what is appropriate such that you have appropriate reviews, or that, at the very least, there could be a return on investment on it. Sometimes those issues can also be considered not through, maybe if you have a longer time period, for example, with a special use permit, you could impose certain conditions on it that have to do with, I don't know, annually provide KDHE certification or other sort of control factors such that if a condition is not met, the permit can come back up for review and possible uphold. Your city code allows for a hearing process for that in case a condition isn't satisfied, that they can come and say, state your case because we're considering pulling your special use permit for violation of condition number 7 or 8 or whatever, what have you. So,
So that's
ways
what,
to skin the cat.
that's what we do with the child care centers. They have to annually provide us with their license from the state, and if that's not done, then the special use permit is revoked.
And I don't know if anybody can actually answer this, but is that a standard in the transfer station garbage business? Like for cities, is there precedent for that?
I mean, every city government, one of the big issues, the Deafenbaugh site in Shawnee, when I first started practicing law, that was going through its, a 20-year special use permit process at that time, and there had been, some renewals, so that was, for the main dump site, or as an expansion of it at the time.
Right.
So, yeah, there are, even the main dump that this trash would be going to currently operates under a special use permit. Longer period of time, on that, but, that's coming up for renewal pretty soon again, but of course the concern is that, that's filling up pretty soon.
Do they still have the dump site there in Shawnee, does they still have a DNR on that too? Development and
I don't know what you mean by the DNR.
A DNR is they have after they're through and they close it up, they have to have a development and reclamation. There is a D and R.
There's a reclamation plan.
Yeah, okay, they still have to have that.
Yes.
Okay.
Right?
So we could table it and
We have-
decide on,
We have three options. We can
These
recommend
factors.
approval, we can recommend denial, and we can recommend tabling this, and then we would have to discuss why we're tabling it and what we expect to happen with tabling that.
Right, I mean, the statutes of this are a little unclear. I mean, I'm comfortable with, a tabling of 1 or 2 times. At some point, the statute says that a failure to make a recommendation is counted as a vote for denial, a recommendation of denial. It doesn't really speak to tabling much more than that.
Sure.
But, I think that could be an option.
and also you keep going back to these 4 items and telling us to consider them, which is very important, and I get that. But I also feel like, and that's just, I feel like, what you're saying is don't consider all the people who spoke and said, I just don't want this for whatever reason. Is that what you were indicating?
Not necessarily. I think I stated with that, the golden factors are not an exclusive list of considerations. The key, though, in protecting the city is that, should there be a challenge of some kind, I have to be able to show the city that any decision that was made by the city was reasonable and it wasn't arbitrary. To the extent that there is not a record of your consideration of what the Kansas Supreme Court has said and what your code says are the factors that should be considered, I have a harder time doing that. That does not mean that there are factors not listed that cannot be important. There's some case law that aesthetic and cultural values can be considered, even though those may not be listed. But again, what the courts are going to be looking for in case of a challenge is there evidence that there was reasonable consideration of this matter and it just wasn't a no just because no or yes because just yes. That whatever the decision is, it's important that there have been a consideration by you of what you and your own code have established are the factors that you're supposed to consider.
Right, okay. Thanks. All right. More discussion, continue
I'll entertain a motion.
I think I would make a motion that we table it, because I think we need more time between us to discuss it. And we haven't got the time now. I don't know if we need to set up another meeting, but
What would you
I
like to?
don't think all our, I say that we table it. That's my motion.
And what would you like to see with that table? What information would be needed?
Well, I would like to see, where they sit on their financing, et cetera. I think we need to see more on their truck routes.
Okay.
I think we need to see more on their truck routes. I think we need to see.
So just operations?
Yeah, operations, and I think we need to, the mural was fine, but I just, it's just.
From a land use perspective, I don't think we're gonna be in a position to provide you with types of the financials that you're.
No, I'm not saying, I'm saying where are they?
Well, so let's deal with this.
Where are they sitting and the way they're financing? I don't wanna say, yeah, then it takes them 12 months to get their financing. I don't wanna know.
I'm not sure that's gonna be relevant to a land use discussion.
Okay. I just.
Is that the only reason for?
No, I just still have some questions about the truck traffic and the trees and
So
all
that's
Well, is there something more about the truck traffic that you don't,
'cause I don't
haven't been
think- I don't
answered?
think
The
the deal at
answer is
deal
that
at
the
Fourth
city's
and-
gonna be directing them to go
I don't
south on
think that-
Second through Marion down
I don't think
Fourth,
Fourth and
so.
Marion is a good spot, and I don't think where they come out is gonna be a
So
good spot.
are you asking for a traffic study or
Yeah.
engineering? Okay.
Yeah, I would, it's just pretty foggy.
Okay, so that's the motion that we have here is to table the discussion for another time to where we can get more information on traffic and operational. That's the motion that is on.
Because when you're doing, the other
Yes.
thing is, let me do one more thing since it's operational. When they dump the trash, are those doors shut after they dump the trash before the next load comes in, or are they open all the time during the day?
I think that's a question that could be answered tonight, and I think has been asked and answered, but that could be addressed again if needed.
Yeah, please. Well, will I have to open the?
No, he's
No, that's all right.
Please.
Are your doors open all day?
Right, so there would be 4 bay doors.
Right.
And only the ones that needed to be open would be open.
Okay, but will they be open all day?
Only the ones that needed to be open as far as a truck dumping and
So
that type of
once
thing.
the truck-
So those are automatic doors, they're not hard to mess with.
I understand, but once the
Right.
truck dumps and it's on the floor and the truck comes out, you close the doors.
We would load the garbage in the trailers, and if there's nobody else coming in, then absolutely, we would close the
But
doors.
if somebody else is coming in, you would close the doors.
We would have to have them open in order for them to dump, yeah. But we would only have them open when needed, almost like I do at my house. I don't leave them open unless I'm actually using that floor. As far as the traffic study goes, I was gonna refer back to the letter from the former, retired, Public Works Director.
Mr. McDonald.
Yeah.
Right, Mr. McConnell.
I've got you right.
And, when this entire area was zoned, which this entire area is zoned industrial, either I-1 or I-2, for the most part. And because of that, in this letter, the industrial use was part of the justification for the upgrading of those traffic signals over the years with substantial grants from KDOT. So KDOT being transportation, so I'm
KDOT,
positive
yeah.
that they did that work that you're asking about. And when those grants were given to the city, it was based upon industrial use in that area, which most industrial use uses larger trucks. And again, we're only talking about 6 extra trucks. I'm not sure how many Geiger runs right through there, either Poplar or Marion. it's dozens.
Sure,
There-
and
there's
this,
no
this
doubt about it, it's
commission
dozens.
just approved, just a couple of months ago of, an extension of their parking lot, for even more trucks. I think when I was out there today, I counted at least 50 that were out there that weren't being used.
Even coming from the project on 92 with the asphalt, you can literally follow it. You can follow the trail right past on Poplar. That's the entire reason for that widening. And again, KDOT gave the grants for that.
That answers my questions.
Yeah, as far as, again, we don't wanna be noticed, that's the bad part about trash guys, is we'd love to say, hey, what's up? We don't wanna be noticed, we want things as non-smelly, as quiet, and we wanna pick up your garbage, and we wanna get out of there without you even knowing. We wanna get rid of everything, but, we don't wanna be noticed.
Nature of the beast will not allow that. Reality's gonna fight you.
Well, all right,
Yeah.
so
It
we have
actually
a
happens.
motion, you just gotta answer, what would you like to do with your motion?
I dropped the motion.
Okay, motion, we have no motion on the table. Thank you.
Thank you.
You bet, absolutely.
So I'll entertain another. Can I make a motion?
As the chairperson?
You cannot.
I don't think so.
According to Robert's rules, he cannot make a
Generally
motion.
speaking, you're not supposed to, but look at your bylaws here.
What?
I would like to make a motion to table this, but not based on that. Based on as you said, we could make some caveats, and that does seem like a really good idea to say, within this time frame, you're gonna plant these trees, within this time frame, you're gonna do the fence, is that what you're saying?
That's up to you all.
There you go, that's my motion.
That's a motion. All right, so we have a motion to table until we can discuss as a board in a study session the available options.
Yes.
Okay.
Is that permitted,
I think
open
we
meeting
do it at
laws?
your next planning commission meeting.
Yeah, it has to be an open meeting.
Sure.
What was
And is
that?
the direction to staff to bring you
Right.
conditions? Do you want to?
Is this just a discussion, another discussion of the proposal with the applicant and public? So just redoing this hearing?
Don't redo the whole hearing. No, just discuss the timeframes. The timeframes of when is this going to happen?
Can we do that now?
Instead of having it open, I do not know.
Okay,
We can't do that without the benefit of public input and staff, because of the open meeting laws. We can't do that, it's just us, unfortunately.
I could possibly answer to some of those if.
Well, I
And
think, point of order first, I think we've got a motion.
We've got a
We need to
motion.
know if there's a second to that motion or not.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion to table based on, or for another meeting, another hearing. We have it second. All
Let's
those,
not use the word hearing, because you've already closed the public hearing, and the
Okay.
notice is already one, the public hearing has already been held, that was been held here today. So you would be presenting an agenda item at your next meeting, or at a meeting to come of this item for discussion.
rediscussion. Okay, so the motion on the table that has been seconded is the table. We'll put it on as another agenda item at another time. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say no.
No.
No. 2-2,
Motion fails.
and the motion fails.
I can answer some questions if they need again.
I know, but I was just looking at you because we already made motions.
Well, somebody else needs to make a motion then,
Sure.
otherwise we're a deadlock.
I guess that comes to me. If you can't make a motion.
That's right.
All right. So there's been a lot of good discussion tonight. and I'm looking at all the factors that we have to consider. Staff has presented an excellent report, and I don't see anything in what they have presented that I would be opposed to. And all 4 of these conditions, I think the information that's been presented supports approval of all of that. And as far as the golden factors, there's some there that perhaps are not as clear cut and perhaps not as conducive to favorably approving this special use permit as others. But there's many that I think do support it, like it's in conformance with comprehensive plan. Recommendation of staff, which I already mentioned, the length of vacancy, which it's been vacant a long time. Is it bad like it is now? Not necessarily. I'd love to see it developed. Do I want the transfer station there? It's probably not my first choice. But it has been vacant a long time, so we do have to consider that. It is appropriately zoned. It is one of the uses that is permitted. So, and those others are the little more problematic, the character of the neighborhood, the suitability of the project, is it a detriment to the nearby properties? So, but in balancing all that and weighing those back and forth, I have been struggling, thinking about it all night long, and it's like, how am I going to vote for this? But I think the bottom line is having the ability to add some of the conditions, with the amount of the time limitations, having it reviewed periodically, having the requirement for KDHE certification to be submitted to staff or to whoever that needs to go to on a yearly basis, and a recommendation for no slats in the fencing. I would be good in voting for it.
To recommend
So
approval.
I make a motion to recommend approval with those conditions that.
Let's get a list of conditions.
Yes.
Because the importance of this is that the governing body, if it wants to change or add, that sets what type of threshold vote they might need to have.
So, sounds like 5 years might be a standard from what I'm hearing, or 3 years.
That would probably be fairly low for something like this, I would think.
That would be
given
low,
the level of
okay.
investment. I mean, that's not for me to decide,
Right.
but
Yeah.
I would think it would be difficult to finance a project of this if it's going to expire by its own terms in 5 years. That's
8 years,
my opinion.
10 years? I don't know. Thoughts? I'm just throwing out a number
Yeah,
here.
no, I agree. I think looking at 7 years.
Okay, compromise and say 7. All right, so that would be one condition. The annual certification, copy to staff, or if that's the appropriate person that it needs to come to from KDHE. Are there other certifications or other approvals that we might need to see beyond KDHE that's required for this?
KDHE probably encompasses, the KDHE certification encompasses wastewater, environmental, EPA, check all of those boxes. Stormwater, the KDH.
There could be surprise visits, there could be monthly visits, and there's definitely yearly visits. There's yearly reporting, to the, to every entity.
And if we asked you for proof of that each year.
Yeah, and that's something that you keep up with constantly, yes.
Are there other certifications or inspections that you're required to have on a periodic basis?
OSHA, as far as safety.
Sure, okay.
That type of thing. Obviously DOT, Department of Transportation, yeah, there's plenty. It keeps you busy.
To cover all, could you just put in there that we have to obtain all necessary permits to operate the facility?
Well, that's a given, that you have to obtain all, but this would just be a submission of your annual certification back to the city to say that you've met the certification.
That makes sense to me, right? That makes sense.
Yeah, that's what I'm
And
saying.
when it comes to the fencing and stuff, that's absolutely not a deal breaker. That was one of the questions earlier, and I don't think we got to. The slats, if we don't like slats, we don't like slats.
Personally, I don't like slats, but that's me.
I understand.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion to recommend approval to the city commission with conditions being a 7-year sunset and proof of obtaining regulatory.
Annual certification by KDHE for submitting that to the city.
What the lawyer said.
Are there any others?
Can I say no slats?
Pardon?
Can I say no slats?
Fencing with no slats?
Yes.
If you want that to be part of your motion, then.
I really do feel strongly about that.
It's your motion.
Hey, well, I guess I can't add, can I?
So, yeah, let's let her know when you're, I'll add that as third. And with that, I guess we'll be waiting for a second.
Can I add?
Tell me
Just
what to add to my motion.
Just considering the historical significance of the land, and lots of people talked about that, I don't know if they're already working with the Historical Society or whatever, just to make sure that is taken into consideration in their plans, not mandating that they keep the arch or anything like that, but the historical significance of Abel's Field, they work with,
I mean, it's not a registered
I know it's
property
not.
right now,
Sure.
and so
Yeah.
I think it might be a little ambiguous to
That's
just say
what I
consider the historical
Sure.
significance, so
historical about it is the arch.
yeah, I need to
Well,
have
then-
comments from the
Yeah, I think we
audience,
need to
yeah.
get through the motion.
Sure, yeah, let's do it. All right, so that's the motion on the table?
Yes, three. With the three conditions, that it's a 7-year special use permit that would need to be renewed in 7 years. So that would mean it would come back through planning commission and city commission. That the KDHE certification is provided to the city annually, and that there would be no slats in the fencing.
And if this motion gets a second, and if there are other conditions you want to add, then you can make a motion to amend the motion, and we'll go through that. I've gone through this process with us, so that's how we'll play it out.
Okay.
And she just looked at me like, why even offer?
Gotta get a second first.
So.
I will second that motion.
You can.
I can
don't
second.
see any reason,
I
Okay.
I don't see any
Okay.
issue with
Because
that.
he can vote.
Yeah.
He can vote, he
Yeah.
should be able to
Right,
second.
So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Or do you want to ask if there's any amendments to the
Oh, any amendments? Yes.
conditions?
For discussion? No. Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
That's 2. All those opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
2-2, so the motion fails.
The motion what?
Motion fails.
Yeah.
So.
So,
Have a motion that passes the city commission as a.
Yeah, I mean, we can play this out a little bit. At some point, if there's not gonna be if there's not gonna be a motion that will pass, then this will be treated as a no recommendation, which is a recommendation of denial.
Right.
Unless there's another attempt at a motion.
Can I ask a question? For those who are opposed, are you just opposed to anything, like you're just gonna say no to any proposal, or would there be conditions that would make you say
I don't think any of
yes?
you need to answer.
I don't need to answer.
Okay, I apologize, that
That's
was
all
my
right.
overstepping, I was just thinking we could cut to the chase of it, I
Yes.
apologize.
That's okay.
Thank you for the attempt.
I think we should have some more discussion, though.
That was my motion.
Make it again?
No, but not more discussion in delaying it, but more discussion in helping to get you to a decision, rather than just a.
Not tonight.
Yeah, we need any comments made by the commissioners to be like recorded and so
Okay.
made at a volume that we can
Yes.
all hear.
I think we're finished, in my opinion, I think we're finished for tonight.
Is that a motion to adjourn?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I guess.
Sure, I'll second that motion to adjourn.
All right, there's a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay.
Nay.
Nay. 2-2, motion fails. All right, so at some point, we've just got to make a decision. If we're going to table it, we need to come up with
specific things that we want to accomplish in that table. Or, I mean, this continues for probably a couple more votes before the attorney shuts it down, so. And then it just goes as a no recommendation to the city commission, and so that's just us punting to the city commission, which I'm not in favor of, but that's just my opinion. I think the issue is in front of us, and I think a lot of time and effort has gone into this. Looking at the golden factors, I can't see any of them that have been strongly violated, or that there are some questions that haven't been resolved here in my mind. A transfer, I think everybody has said a transfer station at Abels Field is not my top choice. If I were to list out things that would be cool to go in Abels Field, transfer center is not one. However, I know my trash hasn't been picked up on a regular basis since we went to the bin system. It has been out there for days. If there's something that can help with that, if it's something that can help with retaining our city staff and maybe even looking at a pay raise for them and not paying them $16 an hour, and this helps that, if this helps property taxes and relieve the pressure off of personal property taxes and residential property taxes, I mean, for all of those, and moving the city forward in terms of progress, I mean, that's where I'm sitting. That I can't see anything specific that would feed a recommendation of no.
Here's the thing that I think, the chairman votes when there's a tie. There was no tie. But the other thing is, I think it'd be better to have it when we have all 6 commissioners here. So that's why I think we ought to delay it. Huh? Delay it.
And I'll just say that tabling it to the August meeting is not gonna guarantee that we'll have all members present.
And those folks will not have had the benefit of this public hearing either.
They taped it. I thought that the chairman could only vote if there was a tie.
There's nothing in the city code on that. I don't have the planning commission's bylaws.
Well, I was going by Robert's rules.
On that. You're all, equal vote members of the
Okay.
commission.
Yes.
One of you operates as the chairman for purposes of running the meeting.
Right, but there's no special powers or anything.
So what kind of discussion can we have to help you guys find the answers you're looking for, to be able to make a vote?
I don't like 4th Street the way it is now. And adding, when you come into town, and it just, even like they said about the tire town,
And we really need you to speak up, and
said-
just as
I
a reminder,
just-
there can be a motion made to recommend denial to the city commission. It doesn't have to be table or approval, so you could make another motion.
It's just, 4th Street to me is kind of trashy anyway on the east side of the street, once you get past Price Chopper. And, wait a minute, let me finish. We have now Western, the chicken plucking place, is what it was called way back when, is building a new building. Tire Town looks terrible, which I agree. We don't need a trash place next to that. We did approve a Dollar Tree between Western and Tire Town. But why don't we want to covet it more? And then it's right next to Stubby Park, where the kids go sledding and everything else. And we don't need that kind of traffic. We don't need that kind of mess over there. And I think what they've got is a great idea but I don't think Abel's Field is the right position. And that's what I feel. And, I've lived here, I haven't lived here all my life, but I've lived here for 42 years. And so I've seen a lot of things. I watched my kids play football and run track and all that at Abel's Field.
When we look at the condition of the
That doesn't matter
neighborhood.
to me.
Okay, but when we look at the condition of the area that it is in, it is all industrial.
No, but it's not all crap. I wouldn't say Western is all crap.
What would you classify Abel's as right now? Nice?
Well,
It looks nice?
Well, it's better, and no, it needs to be cleaned up.
Okay.
I agree with that, but
And here stands somebody
a trash.
that's waiting.
I understand that, but
to
a
clean it
trash, a transfer station is not gonna clean it up.
Okay.
It doesn't clean up people wanting to come to live to Leavenworth when they come up 4th Street. And we got the military coming in all the time, you know. That's my opinion, and that's how I'm voting on my opinion.
So there's
So you
nothing.
There's nothing you can say, Brian. I mean, that's fine. You
So-
said everything you had to say. You don't have to ask me any other questions. You don't have to say
Do you have any
so.
motion?
Huh?
Do you have a motion to recommend denial then? If there's nothing that's gonna move your vote, recommend,
Sure, I'll motion to recommend denial.
okay. There is a second.
I'll second that.
Okay. All those in favor of recommending denial? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those who don't recommend denial, say aye. Aye. Yeah, is that right? Yeah.
Motion fails too.
Motion fails again.
I got a question.
Sure.
How come for 15
We don't,
years?
yeah, we're not, the public hearing is
It's-
closed, and so we can't entertain questions from the
How come
audience.
for 15 years the city ain't told the causes to clean the place up?
I don't know.
I mean, you're worried about it being a mess and.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't.
That's enough.
That's enough.
That's enough. Is there anything for you, are you in the same boat as he is, that there's really not anything that will change your mind on this at all? There's no
Every
mitigation?
person that spoke, except for his son, did not want it. So yes, I would side with the majority of the citizens.
Then I will say this motion, that this is, we are recommending, not approving to the commission.
So go forward without a recommendation.
If there's a consensus of that you are reached a deadlock on this, and I'm seeing all the heads being nodded, as in that there appears that to be the case, then assuming there's a motion to adjourn without any other intervening motion here, we would take this to the city commission as a recommendation of denial.
Do we have consensus on that? Is that what we want to do? And if so, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I made the motion once before, I'll make it again.
Okay, we have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? 4-0, so we're, so that is adjourned.